Welcome to round 3 of the Hammertime 7 single elimination knockout final. Me and Mr. Adam Mumford excited and enthused to watch this match. Adam, how you doing? You well?
Yeah, I'm great. Absolutely great. How about you?
Very excited. I mean, it's been a thrilling day for Age of Sigmar. An amazing first game, round 1. Loads of reveals for Age of Sigmar generally, which is pretty cool. New Bellacore, we're all pretty hype about that, I think.
I'm not. I've just finished painting mine. Look.
Oh, fool you. Oh, fool you.
Human.
And now we get to do coverage of the final. This feels like, I don't know how you feel, Adam. In case anyone doesn't know, Hammertime 7 had 80 players playing on TTS, organised by the wonderful Owen Jackson. It was a one-dayer. We ended up with a top 8. So those 8 players, they went 3-0. Today, they've been playing in a single elimination bracket, and now we're down to just 2. It's an octagon, and only one can leave. There can be only one in this situation. And it feels a little bit different to some of the events that we've covered before, right, Adam? Because there's this kind of like, it's all or nothing. This is it.
Yeah, so literally, if you lose, you're gone. No chance of redemption, no submarining, you are just gone. So everything is literally on, like, you've got to be on at all points. You can't relax, you've got to keep going. So
you are the
cool.
first loser. That's where you come.
And if you didn't make it, then you're even worse.
So we are going to be getting an update later from Owen about exactly which one of these, or the path to victory really for these guys, how they ended up here. The sad news, unfortunately, I have to report to the Twitch chat, is Orkman did not pass the final hurdle of the last round. He was our only hope and truly our only dream. And also, gutted. So he did not make it through. So Seraphon, Trogdor's Seraphon is what we will be looking, what we will see battle. Also, and we'll go through the list in a minute. Also, Sven, who we had in the first game, the 10 Shark meta, which I've always said is a pretty fair and balanced narrative army, which is why I'm collecting it, lost to the Lumineth Realm Lords. So that kind of narratively makes loads of sense, Adam, right? Teclis's better sons versus Teclis's older, rubbisher sons, and then the Lumineth coming out on top.
I mean, he basically went, all right, I've created the Lumineth, and I'm actually going to give them a skill cap.
Yeah.
And sort of the old ones, he was like, you know what, I'm not going to put a skill cap on these. So that's basically the difference, really.
All the points in all of the stats is what he gave them, and it was fine. So we've got a Lumineth Realm Lords versus Seraphon final. Now, me and Adam, and me and Owen, and a bunch of us guys, pretty set on the fact that Lumineth actually really a top-tier army, but it takes a while to play, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that they've got so much in their book, but to actually get the most out of it, you've got to be quite a skilled player to use it, and you've got to have a few games under your belt with them to sort of understand the nuances and when to cast, what to cast, when to break Shining Company and things like that. So there's lots of going on in that list.
Loads. And we're gonna, as we see the armies deploy, we're going to go through the lists. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in live. Appreciate you loads for being here. Now, our table boss, Matt, will be giving us all the hot information from the table. He never gets enough love, so big shout out to intern Matt. He's the babe, so he'll be letting us know what's happening. Before we go into the match, big shout out to the Twitch chat. Who do you think is going to take it away, Lumineth or Seraphon? Just on a gut feeling. Adam, you got a gut feeling on these two armies?
I mean, my gut says Seraphon, but my heart says Lumineth. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a big top pick. Okay, let's go over to the game and let's see how we feel about this. So here we are in the matchup. So we're going to be playing Force in the Hand. Adam, do you want to take us through Force in the Hand, the battle plan?
Yes, Force in the Hand is probably my favourite mission at the moment. So there are 6 objectives in sort of a diagonal across the map. You've kind of got 2 that are tagged within your territory, and then there are 2 that are sort of in no man's land. And if you are taking the turn, so if it's your turn, your opponent will pick one of their 3 objectives, and that will be the primary objective, and that will be worth 3 points as opposed to 1 point that they're normally worth. And it's as easy as that, really.
Yeah, it's a good battle plan, but it's very like danger close. Everyone, the objectives you can see on the board, they're very close to each other. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, and neither of these two armies particularly stressed by that. Seraphon, obviously, ultra mobile with those teleports. And at the end of the day, the Lumineth can be fast if they want to be fast.
They can be crazy fast if they want to be.
They can be crazy, crazy fast if they want to be. But they're also danger close, right? They've got a lot of their threats are going to be very close to the Seraphon Force, and the Seraphon Force is going to be able to bring a lot of dominant damage output into that Lumineth Force. So it'll be very interesting to see how this works. Let's have a look at the lists. You can obviously type !lists in the chat and you will get the lists. A big shout out to the Beast of Chaos himself, Blagan, in the chat. Really nice to see you there. Prop
Love
Joe
Blagan.
Dreadwoods.
He's the best.
Big love. Alan thinks that Lumineth don't do well in this battle plan. You got any thoughts as to why that might be?
So, obviously, we're going to be seeing Croak, of course. And Croak has obviously got the spell, which is a bit of a horde clearer, right? So he can pick a unit, and for every model in that unit, he rolls a dice, and it does mortal wound. I think that's Croak, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't get that right. So obviously with Lumineth, you've got you usually have quite big blocks of wardens. So Matt, for example, has got 30 wardens. If the Croak casts that spell into that unit, he's going to be rolling 30 dice, and every 5 up is a mortal wound. So that's going to clear his hordes quite quickly. However, I push back on that because obviously you've got Teclis. So Teclis is a super a magic dom.
Yeah.
He is a magic dom, and he can auto unbind a spell every turn. So if he doesn't want that spell happening from Croak, he can just auto unbind it. So I think it's going to be, we're going to see 2 magic doms going up against each other, and they're probably both potentially just going to cancel each other out.
Yes, this feels very much like an episode of South Park that we're going to see. Yeah. It's just two different characters holding their heads and just going at each other to see who is dominant, which is going to be very funny to see. That's right. So it's a Super Pals showdown. Let's talk about the list. I know you guys can look in the chat and see, but I'm going to go through it first. Now, Matt Goddesborough from South London Legion, so big shout out to Matt, who's had a very interesting path to victory. But he's got a Sire, so Sire Lumineth Realm Lord's army. That means he's got access to 2 Aether Quartz per unit, and he's able to use 2 per phase. Normally, you can only use 1 per phase. Because of Sire, they've got double the amount and double the usage. Now, you would think that actually you would use them in different places, but actually you can use the double Aether Quartz, which you can use for pluses to cast, but probably the most relevant one is the plus to save, and that plus to save you can stack twice onto a unit. Isn't that right, Adam?
Yeah, so obviously you use it twice. It does, however, cost a command point to do that. So if you want to use 2 in a phase, you've got to use a command point to use the second one. So it's going to be, he's got a lot of resources to manage in this list. So he's obviously going to be looking at his Aether Quartz and his command point. So it's going to be a very resource heavy build. So you've got to be careful with that.
Yeah. He's got lots of resources to manage, and also he's got a massive hero phase as well. Each one of these units is a wizard. He's got lots of spells to cast, so the hero phase is going to be a trudge. Now he's also got the Cathalar in there as well, who's got that goading arrogance command trait, which might not see much play in this. Adam, do you think?
I disagree. So
okay.
Goading Arrogance is a super powerful ability. If you play it right, there's some super cool tech that you can do with it. So you screen out your Caliphar with, say, your Wardens, and then if the enemy within 6 inches of the Caliphar, they have to target her. Whereas if their weapons don't reach, they can't attack. So it's a bit like the Lumineth or the Idoneth Deepkin's Cloud of Midnight. So it can shut down potentially a combat phase.
Wow. Okay, very powerful. We've also got Lambent Light spell, which we're going to see cast, I think, a lot. Not forgetting that Teclis obviously can cast every single spell, which is going to be fairly important. All the spells. That Lambent Light means that you're going to have to spend 2 command points every time you want to use a command ability. Now, Seraphon don't struggle to generate command points, but if you are a Seraphon player, it's a bit like a riches to rags story. You're like, I've got so much CP, I'll do what I want. Reroll 1s to hit here, like little cheeky inspiring presence here. When it's costing twice as much, it's going to start to become an issue. You're going to feel like a regular player. You're going to feel like a regular.
That's actually Total Eclipse that does that one. So he's not got that on any of his lists, but you can do that with Teclis. Yes. So Teclis will be able to do Total Eclipse, and Lambent Light is you cast it on a unit, and it gives you re-rolls to hit for missile weapons. So he'll be using that with his Sentinels in the list.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. the spell laws, but they're both there and available. But yeah, the Lambent Light, the rerolls to hit is going to be fairly important as well. Although not loads of Sentinels in the list, only 20, which pretty much makes him a good guy. Only 20.
Only 20. Damn it.
Rerolling to hit, and he's got 30 Wardens, 20 Wardens, and then he's obviously got the Spell Portal for the Technado Classic, and then the Hessian Twin Stones. The Hessian Twin Stones basically gives him a pseudo +2 to cast on everyone in range, right?
Yeah. So you can you cast the Twin Stones. Everyone within range. I think it starts off as a 1, and then as soon as you cast one spell, it goes to 2. And then once a unit uses it, they get +2, and then it reduces to 1. But because someone's cast a spell within range, it goes back up to 2. So essentially, once you cast your first spell, it will go to a 2 or a +2 to cast for everybody, which is just insane.
It is truly insane. And then he's also got 2 Alapexes with the net launchers. So I mean, I'm happy because some sharks made it, of course.
Yeah.
But not being able to pile in is pretty big, especially against those Wardens. Those Wardens are incredible. They have got 2 attacks each. Don't forget that any 5s to hit, like if they get their spell off, any 6s to hit normally are going to cause a mortal wound. Any 5s to hit are going to cause a mortal wound if they get the spell off. And that is a lot of attacks available.
With a 3-inch range on those spears.
3-inch range.
And so with those net launchers, if he gets Lambent Light off, he'll be able to reroll those hits as well.
Yes. Into the unit, because it's a shooting attack, right? Making it more likely. And we've seen the Alapexes can still fight quite nicely as well. So another fast little unit in there. And of course, Teclis, the Magic Dom himself. As you can see on the board, that big white bubble going out from side Teclis is, of course, his protection of Heesh range. So that's going to keep all those guys on a 5-up DPR save on top of everything. Lower on the wounds cap than we normally see, 107 wounds. So normally you see like 130, 140. So not like massive, but with that 5-up DPR and of course the ability to add +1 save to any of these units at any point, you can just get such a defensive army out of this army. More than it looks on paper, right?
Yeah, so obviously on paper he's only got 107 wounds, but if you look at where his Wardens are generally on a 4+ save, as soon as you use that Aether Quartz, they'll be on a 3+ save. Use it again, they're on a 2+ save. So you look at it, that is just ridiculous. And then plus that 5+ after save, it's just that force multiplier, isn't it? Just going absolutely mental.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested, it's Trogdor playing with the Fangs of Sotek list, and it's Matt Goddesborough playing with his Sire list. If Orkman had made it through, I'd already messaged Matt and telling him he should throw the game because it would be good for the Age of Sigmar community.
It would be great for the Age of Sigmar community.
Yeah.
We needed it. That's what we needed.
And like a true Lumineth player, he told me to get on my bike. He was like, no, we don't do that. We've only got goading arrogance. And I was like, okay, all right.
Wow, how rude.
I know, right? Thanks so much.
Wow.
So Trogdor is deploying now. He's got the Seraphon Force. He's got a Fangs of Sotek army. Now, yes.
Sorry, I mean, got to stay positive, right?
That commandability is going to be super useful in this army as well. He's got Croak. He's got Stellar Tempest. Stellar Tempest could be a good spell if he manages to get it off on the that big brick of 30 Wardens. It's going to cause a mortal wound to them all, but I don't know if he's ever going to get that off. He's got the Ashloth Bannerbearer +1 to cast. He's got that Skink Star Priest with Celestial Harmony. And he's got a Skink Priest. So only 2 support pieces in this army, that Skink Star Priest and Skink Priest. Both of those pretty key for making the whole army work, Adam. But he hasn't invested in any redundancy for those.
No, so obviously with Matt, he's potentially be able to snipe those out with the Sentinels, and then Trogdor's going to have no sort of backup for them. So it's a big player, and he's taking like the 1 Star Priest, or having no real protection for them either. So yeah, if Matt can get them off, I think he'll be in a good chance, is what I'm thinking there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's going to be super useful if he can pick off those support characters. The rest of the list is looking not too dissimilar to what we would see, but 40 skinks, so only 1 big brick of threat from those 40 skinks, 240 points. Then you've got 3 lots of 10 skinks, and then you've got 15 camo skinks, 15 chameleon skinks, which is an interesting threat for this army.
I love chameleon skinks. They are
really
great.
Good. What do you like about them, Adam?
Well, so they don't deploy on the board. So they have a deep strike ability where you deploy them off board and they come on anywhere on the board 9 inches away. As well, if you deploy them in cover, they get a +3 to their save rather than just +1. So it's you can see obviously in the middle of the board there's a massive bit of cover there that he'll be able to get those 15 camo skinks in, and they become almost a roadblock as well. And not only can they do that, but they've also got I think 2 shots each, and every 6 to hit is going to be a mortal wound. So they're potentially tanky. They pop up anywhere, and they can do damage.
Really good. They're very, very, very potent in the list. So that provides another threat. And also don't forget about the teleport that you're going to get from the Seraphon. So that's that teleport, and it's that unit that can pop in from Deep Strike at any point, which gives him that kind of like double threat. And again, board control is generally an issue for the Lumineth Realm Lords. Generally, they don't have loads and loads of bodies, and also they're pretty precious about the units that they are. The units they don't want you to hit, they really don't want you to hit. They really don't want you to. They really don't want you to hit Teclis, even though he can make himself very, very survivable. And they really don't want you to hit the Sentinels. So, and they definitely don't want you to hit the Cathalar. So they're like, please don't touch any of my my units.
Yeah, he's got some really important pieces there. And then if Teclis doesn't get that protection of height or protection of Teclis or whatever it's called up, he won't have any type of DPR. So Teclis, before he starts casting, is super vulnerable. So the Chameleon Skinks could be in a really good position if he gets given the first turn, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very, 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 very key piece really here in this army. And 660 points, not cheap either. And now the stars of the show, other than the Chameleon Skinks and the big block of 40 Skinks, is of course that salamander hunting pack, 3 of them, and another 2 salamanders in this list. So 550 points been spent on salamanders.
It appears he's spent too much on them, because I thought they were only 80 now, right?
No, they've changed it back. It's fine. It's fine. So, I mean, these things are just super potent. Super potent in the shooting phase, super potent in the combat phase. They're also really good. Different to like Long Strike... Vanguard Raptors with long strikes. You lose a wound on them, or you lose 2 wounds. You lose output. You know, you can lose 9 wounds out of this unit, out of the unit of 3. They've got 3 handlers each, basically. You can
That's the bit that makes them great, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes. I mean, their combat profile is also crazy. If you can shoot them and charge them, you're getting 7 attacks that are all Ren 2 D3 damage with any 6s to hit, be D3 mortal wounds. That's pretty great for 110 points.
Crazy.
It's crazy good. And then range you would think is an issue because of obviously that 12-inch range, but they move 8, so even in a situation where you're not teleporting them, they're useful. And of course, you can also move them, teleport them, across the board, and that is also really useful as well. So there's lots of big threats. The real question is whether or not they're going to be able to punch into some of these key pieces. Do you think this is a game, Adam, Twitch chat? Do you think this is a game of taking out each other's support pieces in this game?
I think for Matt, it definitely is. He's got to get rid of those that Skink Star Priest, because that will make the Skinks, well, not half as good at all. Whereas actually I think for Trogdor, it's potentially just about destroying as many bodies as he can as quickly as possible, because like we said, there's 6 objectives on the board and Matt has only got 1, 2, 3 for like 5 or 6 units. So if he can just nuke a couple of those bodies as quickly as possible, he can potentially just outscore really easily.
Yes, yeah, he's got there's lots of options, especially early game as well. I feel like the bodies on the board for the Seraphon is actually fairly low, and one of the key outputs for the Seraphon force is going to be Lord Croak, and he's up against the other Magic Dom. That Teclis is probably going to shut down a lot of his spells,
Definitely.
So it'll be interesting to see what occurs there. Are we playing? What village are we playing in here? This is nice. Is this Middenheim? Look at this. We've got some buildings with some. Is this the Prancing Pony pub? Is this where we're battling? Oh wow!
Yeah, 100%. Although it kind of just looks like it kind of looks like some weird place on Dartmoor. So there's a little moors near me. I say little. It's massive. But Dartmoor is huge, and it looks exactly like that. Kind of redundant, abandoned, and no one has been here in forever. And these guys have decided, you know what? we're not going to take any settlements. We're just going to fight in some weird woods with 2 houses in, and apparently a massive realm shaper engine, which has just appeared.
Yeah. Just you bring it with you. If you
Yeah,
can't
it
bring
just
your
comes here, right?
your realm shaper engine and your floating sky port or whatever it is with you, then what's the point? I say.
And luckily, the Lumineth army in a few weeks' time is going to have access to a floating waterfall thing that they'll just be able to float down with them.
Yeah, a floating mountain is what
a floating mountain water thing. And I'm excited to see it.
So we're seeing these units deploy now. As you can see, that big unit of Sentinels are in the left-hand side. Sharks, Techless in the middle. Unit of 20 Sentinels, sorry, not Sentinels, Wardens at the top. And the unit of Sentinels at the back. And we've still seen a whole bunch of Skinks not deployed. So we're going to go over now, though, to our man Owen. He's going to give us an update in a moment once I've just loaded up his scene. Give me a second. Twitch chat.
Owen. Oh,
Owen. So he's going to let us know how these 2 players managed to get to this place and get to the final. And it'll be interesting to hear from him when I find this little scene right now.
And I'm not mute. Nobody wants that, do they? So yes, it's actually quite prescient. I've got a few people in the chat sort of asking what happened to Tzeentch, and obviously when we looked at things like the stats from the previous Hammertime tournament, which there were 80 players in, and the top 8 who won through till today, there was a lot of talk about Tzeentch. And it turns out, looking at the route to the final, Trogdor in his route to today. He had an all Tzeentch Hammertime 7. He basically played Tzeentch rounds 1, 2, and 3. A real mixture. He played and beat the Multitudinous Host, sort of pink horror spam. He played off against Stuart, who put the Iron Guts on the shelf and played Tzeentch Archeon. And he also beat Casper, who we've had on the Hammertime stream. Casper, one of the Danish guys, in round 2. So, yeah, he had a full day of Tzeentch to get here. And then in round 1, he had a mirror match, finished off Dracothian's Tail. And then, unfortunately, I know there's been a lot of talk. Where's Orkman? Where's the Green Army? Is the Green Tide coming in? And unfortunately, it was Trogdor who bested Orkman in the last round. He did apologise and said that he felt that everyone would hate him, but he wanted to win, and that's what he did. Just to give you a bit of an update on the last round, we played Border War. So while you were all getting excited about all these new models that were coming out, Orkman and Trogdor battled it out. It was a tricky one, really. Basically, Border War was a very simple mission. So Trogdor was able to just get up, dominate the board. He was given the first turn, so he was able to get up, get his buffs up, dominate the board, score the first 5 points, and then unfortunately Orkman with a few unfortunate charges and things, he just wasn't able to keep parity with the points. And then there was a clutch priority, I think, into turn 4, which Trogdor won, and that was pretty much game at that point. So that's the Seraphon army's path to the final. In terms of Matthew and his Lumineth Realm Lords, he's had more of a varied. Sorry, I've just seen one of the Trogdor must be burnt. MMX James, that's not a nice thing to say. Maybe we could turn a salamander on him at the end of the day, but for now, he's not to be burnt. But yes, Matthew, he had a real mixed journey to the final. He took on Antu with the Sons of Behemat list. He then played into Ogre Moor Tribes, the very popular Blood Gullet Yulbad. He then took on Idoneth Deepkin, a Fwathan mixed list. And then today he beat Marathi, Daughters of Cain, Hagnar, actually with some last-minute plays on turn 5 to just nick that from Leandro. And then, yes, he bested all the Sharks in the last round. I think because one of the downsides, like everyone's getting hype on the Sharks, and they are excellent, but Bravery 6 into Lumineth, with the way that Lumineth can use Bravery and debuff Bravery and then not allow units to be able to move or charge or shoot through spells from the Cathalar and Crippling Vertigo from the Law, coupled with Mortal Wounds from the Technado and with the Sentinels, I think that's, Idoneth don't like mortals and they don't like making them unbrave. So yeah, Matthew was able to best Sven and end up in the final. Now, I think that's enough from me. It's been a wicked day. There's one game left. I don't have any other tables to bring you reports about, so I'm going to get you back to that main table. Adam, the man Mumford, and the Roblin bringing you hot action. They're so hype. I can see Adam. He's punching the sky. He's ready to go. All right, here we go. Back to the boys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, just being able to talk to Owen Jackson is obviously just a pure delight, let's be honest.
all I'm here
Welcome
for.
back, everyone. Me and Adam Mumford, the Warhammer Freedom Fighter, watching this game. We're still in deployment. Forcing the hand is the battle plan, as you guys can see. Right here, we got the Lumineth in the bottom right-hand corner. I'll take you through the deployment as we see it. And my table boss can let me know what's in the Realm Shaper engine. We've got a unit of 30 Wardens here. Our Sentinels hiding behind. We have our unit of Alapexes, Teclis, and our other unit of 20 Wardens. And then up, in this Bretonian Inn? Where's our Cathalar? Just inside the Bretonian Inn? Probably.
Just disappeared.
Between Teclis and the Sharks. There we go.
Inside the shark. That's where he is.
Inside the Shark is where we're seeing it. For Seraphon, we have a unit of 10 Skinks down here. We've got our unit of 2 Salamanders going down, another 10 Skinks. Our 40 Skinks over here, and our other unit of Salamanders, another unit of Skinks. Inside the Realm Shaper engine, we have the Oshloth Banner Bearer and a Skink Star Priest, and then Croak right here. Croak right here at the back of the board, and our 15 Chameleon Skinks are off. Our deployment has finished. First turn is to be chosen by Lumineth, and they are taking the first turn. Adam, you talked a lot about buffs. Teclis needing buffs. Talk us through. Why do you think we're seeing this first turn taken by Lumineth Realmlords?
Yeah, so Lumineth had to take that first turn, I think, because Teclis, obviously, he can cast 4 spells on a 10 plus automatically, or he can do 2 on a 10 or 12, sorry, and then or 1 auto cast. However, he's going to be doing those 4 this turn because I think all of the Seraphon players' casts are going to be out of range, so he's definitely going to be doing 4 on a 10 this turn, which means...
But you can unbind from... Seraphon can unbind anywhere on the board.
They can, can't they? I forget about that. But I assume still think he's going to go for that 4 on a 10. And so he's going to want to get up that protection of Teclis, so that Teclis and all the guys holding within 18 are going to be getting a 5-up DPR save.
Mm-hmm.
And then so he wants to get that buff up. He also probably wants to get things like he wants to get that movement going. So he's going to be wanting to get a speed of Haish to get on those objectives, so the Seraphon player can't just teleport there. Because if he didn't take this first turn, what potentially could have happened is Seraphon player could have teleported anywhere within 9 of him and potentially just shot off Teclis turn 1 without that protection of Teclis going. So that is super important. He gets that off. Super important. So yeah, I think also what he could potentially do is he can potentially just go for a Technado, as we all know, cast Spell Portal, throw Teclis' spell out, and just dish out a load of mortal wounds everywhere. But I don't feel like he's gonna end up doing that. He's potentially gonna just get as many things like Ethereal off. So you can cast a spell with Lumineth Realmlords, which is put it on a unit and they become ethereal, so they can't get any pluses or minuses to their save, which could be super important. And he's just want to get that board presence going as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think being able to get those spells off. Now, of course, if he chooses the 4 on 10, that global unbind, normally you can only unbind spells within 30 inches. So that's kind of the normal case here. With Teclis being able to choose those 4 casts on 10, normally probably not too bothered about choosing those 4 on 10 because probably the enemy's not in range to even unbind, and then they've got no positives to unbind as well. A bit of a risky choice in this situation, of course, because
he's actually got to think about it.
He's got to think about it. And what's most important for him to get off in this situation? He's going to... Technado, I think, probably is going to be low down the list. I think what we might see is the Twin Stones go down, so we get those pluses to cast for the rest of the units. Could be fairly important. And I don't see him being particularly aggressive here. Like, as you can see, both players have... actually, Matt and the Lumineth have actually deployed fairly aggressively, but Seraphon haven't, and it's really because of that teleport. Now, because they're playing Forcing the Hand, the Seraphon player, so Trogdor has got to choose which of these objectives over here are worth is the primary objective and therefore worth more points. And he's chosen this bottom objective. Very interesting choice in that bottom left-hand corner, because I think
that is super interesting actually. Because I potentially would have gone for the one on the other side, because what could happen is these guys, the 30 wardens there, can potentially get speed of Haish and potentially just run straight onto it. I know that obviously there's a building there, but most people ignore terrain on TTS, right? So, you know,
and also in the real game. So we talked about. I think one of the things he shouldn't do is ever choose the center. He doesn't want to let Teclis build. Like Teclis is a castle build, right? That, like we said, that protection of Heish around him, that 18-inch bubble, that protection of Teclis is so key, so important that the rest of the army basically battles inside that 18-inch bubble, unless it's jumping out of it for some particular reason. Obviously, the Alapexes aren't going to be affected by it. So I think one of the key pieces here is that, like, if anything that Seraphon player can do to pick this army apart and make it have to go to different places will be fairly useful to it. Whether or not it's going to be able to do it is going to be a key point. Now, the other thing to say here, we talked about it, is he going to go for 4 spells? Okay, so is he going to go for 4 casts on a 10+? Is he going to go for 2 casts on a 12? Or an 11, sorry. Is 11 or 12? And then, or is he going to auto-cast? And he's just gone for the 1 auto-cast. He's elected not, Adam, to cast
That's
4
big.
spells, and he's just gone for, I'm going to auto-cast Protection of Teclis.
I think that's 100% the right call, though. Because obviously, if he doesn't get that protection of Teclis off, those Seraphon can dish out loads and loads of mortal wounds. And if you haven't got a save against that, you are just going to get nuked off the table.
And also that protection of Teclis will work on the Alapexes. Thanks to the Twitch chat for that. So it is actually going to affect it because it's friendly units. So
Wow.
the Alapexes are also going to get a 5-up DPR, which is pretty wild. Now, Twin Stones, the Endless Spell has gone down, and Croak attempted to unbind it, and he did not unbind it. So this whole army now is a third more tanky. So basically, you can add 30 wounds onto this army across the board because of because of that protection of Heish. And trying to take out Teclis is going to be a nightmare as well because he's Sire, so he is going to be able to just give himself +2 to his save if he decides to try and run over and gank him with 40 skinks, which I think probably would be a mistake. It's interesting the output in this list because anything those wardens touch are going to die in melee.
Yeah, definitely. I think Trogdor's got to play a really careful game here. He's got to... Because obviously he's not... If you look at it... Trogdor hasn't actually got a lot of stuff because he's got that big brick of 40 skinks, so they've got a fair amount of damage output. Then he's got the 2 units of salamanders. They've got a fair amount. I say they've got a fair amount of. They got loads of output, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously he's going to be careful with. He's got to try and spread his force out. I think he's got to spread out as much as he can to get those objectives, whilst trying to almost force Teclis to potentially keep castling. Mm-hmm. So you almost keep Teclis in that castle and be like, if you come out, you are going to die. So if you force Teclis to stay in that castle, you throw out all your stuff with skinks and things, and then just keep tagging. So I'm not sure entirely what Matt's plan here is going to be. Obviously, he's just got those twin stones off, so everything is now going to get plus to cast. So he's going to get loads of spells off now, which, yeah.
But I think your point is right. I think ultimately this army works. Both armies work really from a protective bubble where they can aggressively move out of their castles whenever they want to, if they want to, and then they've got some pretty long range threat, both from the Sentinels, obviously also Technado. The other end, the way that the Seraphon really do it is they just throw these little dart units out, right? So they just grab this unit 3 Salamanders or this unit 40 Skinks and they whip them across the board and they're like, cool, here they are. They can't bring all of their army to bear at once is the main issue, whereas where you normally see this whole army work as a brick, I think is what you're seeing here. Now we've seen some spells cast. So Speed of Heish was attempted to be cast on the unit of Wardens that we're seeing in the bottom left-hand corner, and Croak unbound it. So he got that magic dominance in the I'm your daddy, no, I'm your daddy slap fight that we're going to be talking about for the next 3 hours. But we did see Ethereal cast on this unit of 30 Wardens. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's obviously going to mean that he's not going to be able to. His save is always going to be a 4+, but it also means that he's not going to be able to use any Aether Quartz on them. So he won't be able to buff their save anymore. So that save is now stuck at that 4+, but with the 5+ from Teclis as well.
Yes, I agreed. I think the 4 up 5 up is a key piece, but maybe he's not looking to spend his Aether Quartz this early. And I would argue that both players looking to bait the enemy and making them overreach. They're both looking to like make their opponent force across the board. Seraphon got a little bit of an advantage here in that they can drop these little units of 10 skinks onto objectives just to outscore for a turn or just hold for a turn. Those sentinels will be able to trade off and take them out. I'm not really certain what the Chameleon Skink's role is here, because the Chameleon Skinks probably aren't going to be able to take something like Teclis out all on their own.
With the Chameleon Skinks, you potentially use them just to block. So you just go, right, this is a roadblock for a turn. And like you said, like I was saying, you put them in that cover right in the middle, essentially. And you just say, if you want to get through, you have to kill these Skinks. And you almost use them, instead of trying to do that damage, you put them in there, they'll be on a 3+ save. And that's going to be relatively difficult to deal with, blocking movement. And obviously Teclis is on quite a big base. So if he can almost roadblock the map, it means Teclis is going to be struggling with. So those camo skinks could come in really handy as almost just a roadblock.
Yeah, I think use Teclis as bait is a pretty bold choice.
I'm all up for using Teclis as bait, but that's so I just mean like so with the camo skinks, you literally just sit them in the middle and you say use almost the camo skinks as bait, and you say, look, we're in the middle, we are on a 3+ save. What are you going to do about us? What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's a good call. It's a good call. I think it would be better to like. I think he's got the double shot right. He's got the teleport with whichever of the units he wishes to teleport, and of course then the camos at the same turn. So I think he could come down and not blow a unit off the board, but cause some drama to a unit. And I think I would be tempted to bully that unit of 20 wardens. I know the 30 is the threat. 20 is a threat. You actually generally don't tend to see 30 wardens. You generally tend to see 20 in lists at the moment because 20 is enough. But yeah. I feel like you've got a good opportunity to take out a significant portion of the opponent army. Taking that out, that's quite key. And also it makes them very exposed on a flank because they can really only defend in two places. I mean, the Sharks are fairly defensive as well, ultimately. But you really want to try and
16 wounds there, right?
Yeah.
So
on a 4 up and now on a 5 up is pretty amazing because of that protection of Teclis. But moving out for the castle Lumineth is an issue because those little cheeky teleports are going to sneak in. He's got to keep those wardens safe away. That's going to be really important to keep those safe. Has he left himself a gap there to be exposed? And like whipping them out is going to be pretty useful because
there's a lot Matt has got to think about here because you look at that aura from Teclis already and you can already see how almost obviously it's an 18-inch bubble, but actually that's super small for trying to protect your whole army. And I think he's not going to get both. He's going to have to almost pick between which unit of wardens he wants to protect with that 5+ DPR this turn.
It's true.
I don't think he's going to get both in with it. If you look at how that ring is at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a super cagey game, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see something slow, and both players are going to take their time on it because
this is 100% going to turn 5.
Yeah,
100% going to
turn 5 in 18 hours. But
I'm here for the ride.
We're here for the whole show. So thank you very much for joining us. I would say this is going to take a while, and that's mainly because both players are dealing with like some razor edge stuff. Both armies have got some absolute hammer units that can just delete stuff. The Sentinels, the Wardens. I mean, the Sharks are pretty brilliant as well. But like we say, those big threats of those Salamanders, those Skinks, there's some major threats, and a single mistake is going to be an issue. Now, Adam, I haven't been fishing much. Yeah, I don't really know how it works, and I definitely have never been fishing for Skinks. But there's no way in God's green earth that Alapex move in the middle isn't a big pile of bait.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I think that's he's moving there for other reasons. Definitely not just to say, hey, Skinks, go on, take me out, do it, do it. Because Well, because those sharks there, they are now going to be in cover, and they're going to get cover because they're no longer a monster. So they're now going to be sat on a 3+ save, and it's also going to be stopping the teleport so much. So the Seraphon player is going to have to really think about where he's going to teleport. And yeah, I don't know. I do think I think that's quite a good play. Good play there.
Yeah, I think interesting because ultimately, like the Lumineth Realm Lord's army has to move up, and don't forget, Lumineth chose the turn. This is a Lumineth play. Maybe just because of the buff, as simple as that. Maybe because of the buff. Interesting about this, Teclis is going to want to control the middle of the board. If he can make it so that the Seraphon all clump together, Technado is going to be super powerful. Croak doesn't have the same power, and Croak clearly has not been, or it looks like he's not going to be used in an aggressive manner. He's right at the back of the board. Very defensive play by Trogdor. So he's right up at that top left-hand corner. I don't think he'll see much play initially, but maybe that's because he's hiding from the Sentinels. Maybe he's hiding from Teclis. Maybe he's not too stressed about it. We'll see. But he's definitely going to, when it comes to AoE damage, Teclis, after the next turn, when he gets up Spell Portal, is going to be in a significant driving seat, ultimately. It's going to be in a very strong place to be able to Technado the middle of the board and affect most of the units there. But I really do struggle to see how Lumineth are going to protect their back lines if they're going to want to go and play aggressively. Because those units that are moving forward now in the Wardens are going to leave some gaps for the opponent to sneak in, right?
Yeah, so obviously, like we were saying earlier, Matt hasn't got a lot of units, and he's got a fair amount of bodies, but he's looking like he wants to stay in that Shining Company. So Shining Company means that you've got to stay within base contact with 2 models in your unit, and Shining Company is going to give you that -1 to hit, to be hit. Sorry.
Now, is that to be -1 to be hitting melee or shooting as well?
I think it's just in melee, but either way, you're going to be wanting to stay in that Shining Company, but that. The good thing, the best thing about this rule that I think GW did a really, really good job on was the fact that it's sort of a risk reward, right? So if you stay in that Shining Company, you're not taking as much board presence, which means Matt's going to struggle with trying to put, keep those strings out to stop Seraphon from teleporting around.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. He's going to need to keep reload space. It's actually it's -1 to hit for everything, not just melee. So that's shooting. That's going to be really important as well. Thank you, by the way, to Dude460 for subscribing. Also, good shout from Owen in the chat. The aura of Selena is going to be also really important as well. So that's the 18-inch bubble. When enemy spells are going to affect one of these units, it's going to bounce mortal wounds back on a 4-up. That's pretty key as well.
I forgot about that. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's going to affect how Croak plays, and if Croak even decides. So all of Croak's spellcasting basically gets ignored on a 4+, and it's a 16-inch aura, so thank you very much. But all of that is going to be... is it called the Aura of Sadness? No, he's called it Protection of Heesh. Oh wow, the Aura of Sadness is the emotional
singing to My Chemical Romance, going, oh god!
So that's on the Cathalar, who is obviously deployed right there, as you can see. So a real castle army. Super interesting how this army plays.
Loads of aura bubbles that he's got to think about. But Matt is a previous Seraphon player.
He is.
So he is going to be knowing exactly what Trogdor... He knows exactly what Trogdor's army do. He knows probably as much more about it than Trogdor potentially does himself. So he's probably got a bit of an advantage there, knowing exactly all those bubbles, all those auras that Trogdor's got. And he's going to know, right, I have to stay like this to counter whatever Trogdor's going to do. So that could be important as well.
Yeah, unpicking the... it's interesting. Unpicking this army is actually quite hard work. We're talking about the Lumineth Realm Lords, because you have to have the ability to punch through some of the most survivable stuff in the game. -1 to hit, potentially +2 save, and a 5-up DPR is pretty great. And you have to be conscious that the counter punch is going to be devastating. it's going to be devastating. So I am interested as to whether or not we're going to see how we see Seraphon play this, and if we allow the Lumineth army to move into this kind of like aggressive central stance. Ultimately,
I feel like personally, I think Croak is going to be almost rather unimportant in this game for Trogdor.
I think so as well.
I think Croak almost wants to just take that back seat and go, you know what, guys, you guys have got this. I'm going to sit back here. I'm going to be a dead frog doing not a lot, to be honest, because I'm not going to do anything. And then you've got to play with the other pieces in your army, because Croak is essentially just going to, if he casts those spells, the Aura of Sadness, as apparently it's now called, is going to be bouncing mortal wounds back. You're going to have Teclis being able to unbind a lot, also unbind one spell a game or a turn. So Croak is essentially quite neutered here, which I'm definitely not sad about. But luckily, Trogdor's got enough tools in the rest of his army to still play the game.
Agreed. And if I was Trogdor, I would potentially be ignoring. He's got set up for the double turn. Ultimately, he's got the double turn. He doesn't have to play for it. As you can tell, Matt has set up very defensively. He's given his army all of the tools to survive any potential incoming. So as you can see, all those 9-inch bubbles for all the teleports that are coming in. So some real defensive play. So even though the double might come in, but it's still a bold move. Like on a dice roll to be like, cool, I'm going to YOLO in the Salamanders.
Yeah.
And the Salamanders maybe take out one unit of the 20. I don't think that they'd punch through the ethereal.
No, I think if you're going to go for something, you go for that 20 there. You potentially go in behind that big building and go for the Sentinels, because there's definitely a 9-inch gap.
There's definitely a 9-inch gap there. I was about to say that.
And but the other thing you could do, the other play you potentially do, is you play super defensively. You just tag and some objectives and say, okay, that's my turn done, and then you then take the next turn and say, cool, I'm just going to score another whatever points, because where those 20 wardens are, you can teleport 10 skinks on there and you're just going to score that objective. So Trogdor can just potentially just go up in his next turn, just teleport something there, move something onto his 3 objectives, and just go up 4 points. So then it'll be 4-3. If he then wins the turn, he just goes, cool, I'm going to stay here, and I'll get another 4 points. And you save those big threats for later in the game.
So are there VODs of the other games beside the Deep King game? Unfortunately not. I'm so sorry. LLV, big love to you in the chat, my man. What's going on? I'm guessing the hero Orkman got sank by the Seraphon. He did. Although it wasn't a whitewash. Orkman played to his last breath.
It was a great game. I watched that in the Discord, and it was phenomenal. Yeah. Unfortunately, Orkman got he had one turn, which was just super unlucky, and he failed a load of things that just changed the game. It was awful to watch. I felt so bad.
It was the hopeful run for us all. We were all hoping for it, but now, unfortunately, sorry, Pat. I'm so sorry that that's not available. But hopefully, again in the future, we'll have more games. But yeah, the games from the last event were here. I mean, once COVID is over, we can't thank Owen enough for doing all the organisation for all of these things so we can do the coverage. It's been super great. Like, doing multi-table coverage would be my preferred case, but it's just almost impossible to do on TTS. It requires like a whole bunch of volunteers, and it's just a bit intense. So hopefully after COVID, we'll be back to Honest Wargamer style, TSN style multi-table coverage. So we will be able to bring you more VODs and games.
Gonna be awesome.
Then you can shake a stick
Can't wait.
at. Yeah, me either. But this is still brilliant. This is
awesome. It's still Warhammer. It's not fake. Just ignore what people tell you. There you go.
And LLV is right. Yeah, LLV is right. Most people turn up to an Age of Sigmar game. Most of the armies in Age of Sigmar turn up, and they very much, they have a gentleman's agreement of war. Seraphon, they definitely prison stab people. There's no messing. Like, there's some
that's fair.
Yeah,
it's completely fair. I was having this discussion with Matt Mallow the other day, and we were chatting, and we were like, you know what? I love Warhammer, except Seraphon, and that was it. That was the whole conversation, because he's moving over to Lord of the Rings, and I was just like,
what?
No, don't do it.
Matt, come back.
Exactly. So we got to persuade him that it's not all doom and gloom, but Seraphon can get out, right?
Yeah, I'm with him. I love that fella. I love that spiky head. Lovely. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So it took a while, but end of turn 1 for Lumineth. So
Okay.
so his primary objective now is this one behind all the wardens. You guys can see here. This is the primary objective for Lumineth. So that's worth bonus points. He's got 3 points. 3 points on the board. And he has played very defensively. Adam, you're Seraphon. You are playing as Seraphon. What do you think you would do here?
So potentially what I'd be doing is I'd be throwing 10 skinks over onto that objective where the 20 wardens have just tagged, because there's definitely that 9-inch gap to put enough on to tag that objective. You throw another 10 skinks on potentially that middle objective, another 10 skinks on the next objective, and you potentially just throw 2 salamanders on another one, just at the back, and you just tag 4 objectives is what I'd be doing. I potentially throw the 3 salamanders that he's got, put them behind the sentinels and just nuke the 20 sentinels.
I think taking the sentinels out would actually change the shape of this game a lot.
Yeah.
Like, in a big, big way. I think for Matt, that's his ability to affect all of those units of 10 skinks and make it so that there's a lot less units being played on the board here by Trogdor. I think I'm with you. I think that they're not the biggest threat, but they're the most utility threat that we're seeing in this game. So I would agree with you. And it looks like there's some backdoor action available for that unit of Sentinels. So be interested to see if he does that. So we have seen Stellar Tempest attempted to be cast, and it failed. We have now got Comet's Call cast, and he's on the Balewind already. Croak is up on that Balewind. Might as well sell it as a dual bundle kit on a web store.
Yeah, 100%. If you buy Croak, you're buying a Vortex, right?
So he's done. So he's done his board-wide mortal wound spell that we're seeing here, Comet's Call, and he attempted to put it onto this unit of sentinels, but they ignored it. They ignored it on the 4-up from that protection from Teclis. However, the Sharks, so the Alapexes, they didn't ignore it, and they've taken D3 mortal wounds. I don't know who else I don't know how many rolls he got.
Has he taken 2 mortal wounds?
2
So,
mortal wounds.
He's still on 6. I think he'll be all right somehow.
Yeah. That chip damage, interesting. I would have maybe stuck it into the Cathalar.
Yeah, I think potentially you throw it into the Cathalar. But I think you almost just want to, when you're going to go for the Cathalar, you just go for her. Because don't forget, what the Salamander's range is like, 12 inches?
Yeah.
So you potentially throw, you potentially just bag on the double turn here. I know that's a terrible idea always, but you just go, right, I'll take it. There you go. The 3 salamanders are moving down to take out those sentinels. They take out the sentinels, and then in the next turn, you then walk up and take out the Cathalar.
Yeah, well, but we've seen some aggressive. Here we go. The salamanders are in.
They come.
They're going for the bait that we talked about. But this unit could well potentially block line of sight. Look at that beautiful Bretonian building there. That's really nice. Bit of flock on the roof. I'm tempted to do that in the future. Is he going to sneak a shot through the tree? I don't know if you can eyeball this, but this is lovely. Look at this line of sight being drawn through the tree. Do you know what? Against Sentinels, I'd claim it through the
all day,
through
every
the
day.
route. I want to go through
day of
this
the
route.
week.
I think he's decided not to do that though, and he's looking where he can get him on the board. So it looks like that's not
if you can't do that, I just don't think you do it. If you can't get them, I feel like you just save it. Because actually those sentinels, they, as much as we talk about that 30-inch range, 36 inches range isn't the board. So you can protect, you can stay back from them, especially where they are and the diagonal deployment. He's not going to be in range of everything. So you just throw out those little units.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got run. The prayer has gone off, so we have got run and shoot onto this unit of 40 skinks here. They've also got mortal wounds on 6s to wound available, and they've also got +1 save. So a unit of skinks is now on a 4-up armor save, like a Stormcast. and they are super tanky. And they're going to be able to... that's 40 wounds, which is pretty good. Although that 40 wounds isn't really going to matter much to this unit of Wardens, because they're going to do a ton of mortal wounds.
Yeah, I don't see... those Wardens aren't really going to care about the wounds. They're going to care about how many mortal wounds those skinks are going to throw out, right? So those skinks, every 6 to a wound is now going to be a mortal wound. They're going to use the power of lungs and air to be able to shoot 16 inches. Just let that sink in. Some bows are 18, but the power of their throat is 18 or 16. And then so they can just teleport, shoot, and do a load of mortal wounds.
Loads of mortal wounds, loads of output here. And as we can see, one of the they are getting every buff.
Every single buff ever.
So they can fly. They've got +1 to save from shooting. Yeah, which means they have a 3-up save against shooting. I'm pretty certain. They got +1 save directly. They've got re-roll save. Yeah? Mystic Shield, so re-roll 1s to save. Mortals to wound, do 6s to wound. Run and shoot and charge, and that +1 save. And then +1 to hit. So their profile is pretty bonkers. All of those buffs on 40 skinks. But the big question is whether or not he's going to... I mean, he's got all the buffs off. Is he going to take that opportunity? He's got the double turn. Are we going to see him run into the center and attack the sharks? Are we going to see him teleported to this top right-hand objective and try and take out... I mean, he can score this top right objective and at the same time threaten this unit of 20 wardens.
Yeah. I think if he goes for the sharks, it's a mistake. Those sharks are 100% bait. 100% bait. I think his best play with those 40... is, to be fair, my opinion, his best play is to stay there. But I think his second best play is potentially go for that objective where those 20 wardens are and try and nuke those wardens. Because you take out that whole flank is super weak now.
Yeah, it's really weak. And then ultimately, this unit of wardens in the bottom left-hand corner, what they got to face off against? 10 skinks. They got to run over there and take it. They're fine with that. There's some counterattack from these salamanders. And the more that they get drawn out of this protective bubble, the more that they open themselves up to this unit of sentinels at the back. But look, he's not being shy about it. He's like, cool. He's teleported. Interesting. He's gonna teleport over the salamanders. They're gonna go into this unit of wardens. And then it looks like he's gonna run the skinks, which I feel like is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So no commitment right now though. But yeah, like we were seeing from Owen in the chat, the volume of buffs that this army is putting out is wild. And let's talk about what they've got in resources. Still, you have 2 command points now because you've spent another command point. So 2 command points left for the Seraphon of the 5 that they had this round. 5, that's right, 5, and they've got 7 summoning points already. Yeah?
That is crazy.
The Lumineth are sat on 1. I do wonder how Matt is feeling not choosing to do Total Eclipse, which is the double command point usage.
I honestly don't think it matters.
You don't think it would matter?
I think because the Seraphon player has got so many command points, I don't think it's almost he'll be like, yeah, I use 2. Yeah, all right, I've got like 12 anyway. So who cares? Because the Seraphon player is going to be sat going, okay, I only need to get these 2 command abilities off. You cast that, I've got 5 CPs anyway, I can still use those 2. So I don't know, I think casting that 1 spell was the right decision, even though it meant he couldn't get Total Eclipse. I don't think the Seraphon player actually cares, because he's got so many anyway.
Yeah, of course. No, it's a really good point. But it looks like he is moving up this unit of skinks right into the centre, looking to aggress. I do wonder if we're going to see that unit move into the... Don't forget they've got run and shoot. If they're going to... I'm not certain that they're going to be going for the sharks. Well, it might be. It's going to be interesting. So the unit that do have run and shoot and charge have just made an automatic 6-inch run. So that means that they're going to be going... he rolled a 6, so he hasn't had to spend a CP. That means they're going 14 inches. And then stick that on top of their 16-inch shooting. That's a 30-inch threat range. From a unit that's got...
insane.
Yeah, they've got +1 to hit, which means they're hitting on 4s with their bolt spitters.
But
So
hey, there's
already...
no data to say that's good, right?
none. Absolutely
That's
none.
Okay. Right. Cool.
So
Awesome.
they get 2 shots each because they have over 15 or more models. So that means it's going to be, from that block, it's going to be 80 shots. Hitting on 4s and then wounding on 5s. However, any 6s to wound are going to cause a mortal wound. So
Yeah, she's looking to get 8 or 9 mortal wounds from that unit, realistically.
Yeah, which only kills a shark.
That's what I mean. I don't see why you go for the sharks here. Because if you went, and he's going to have that 5+ DPR, so you're looking at maybe 5 mortal wounds, which actually isn't even going to kill a shark.
No. I mean, you get some other wounds through as well, but he's on a 3-up armor save in cover, which is also super useful.
Unless he's being super clever, and those 40 skinks are bait as well. Like we saw the last Seraphon player do, he put all his characters as bait. So maybe we're just not seeing it.
He did. But let's talk about the saves that we've got on that unit. They've got a 6-up armor save base. Then they've got that star buckler, so they add 1 to +1 to their save roll. So they're on a 5-up. However, they've then got +1 save coming in from the ability, sorry, the prayer. So they're on a 4-up armor save. They're re-rolling 1s to save, and if you shoot them, they have another command ability stacked on top of them, that if you shoot them, very much like Fulminators, you add another +1 to save. So, if you're shooting at them, they've got a 3-up armor save, re-rolling 1s. If you're fighting them in combat, it's a 4-up armor save, re-rolling 1s. They're also immune to battle shock before we even get started. So it doesn't matter if you even try and take them out. So they've been given that before they move forward. So, pretty good.
That is crazy. And obviously not forgetting that the command ability from Fangs of Sotek. If you go and actually charge them, they go, all right, we'll shoot you. And then they shoot you, and then on 4+ they've run away. So actually, to potentially putting that unit there to try and bait him in just to shoot him is essentially the plan.
You could be very, very right. Like, I think that's a really good call. And it'd be interesting to see whether or not we see Croak move forward aggressively in here. Yeah, there's the Overwatch. And of course, if you do charge the unit, and then they run away with the command ability, it just negates all of your combat. So I think he's trying to drag in this unit of ethereal wardens. And if he's not, and we haven't seen the teleport yet, I don't think we've seen a teleport go in, I would have teleported the skinks to this top right-hand corner, personally.
Yeah, I definitely think 100% he should have gone there. 100%. Just for 10 skinks, because it's not like, even if they die, he's going to be summoning the other 10 skinks next turn anyway. So it doesn't really matter if they die. I've just thinking about this 40 skink. It's really bothering me. It's getting me, because the thing he's done now is he's also, because he's put them next to the other 2 10s of skinks. The Lumineth. So Matt, what you could do is charge the 10-man unit, and then just pile into the 40.
Okay.
So where he's actually placed those 40 could be a massive mistake for him, because those sharks can potentially charge those 10 next to it. The 10 shoot him with the command ability, but I don't even think you'd spend it at that point. And then they just pile into the 40, and then they don't get to shoot or run away.
That's a good call. I think putting the 10 nearby is actually a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really do.
Right, so with the Chameleon Skinks, it seems arriving from the board, we've seen all of the we've seen the Skink Priest and also the Astaroth Banner Bearer leave the Realm Shaper engine and. Oh, so the priest wasn't in there. There's a Star Priest in the Realm Shaper engine. Sorry, that's what we heard. Chameleon Skinks dropping down. I wonder where they're going to go. Oh, no. Salamanders. So the Salamanders, are teleporting. And the Chameleon Skinks aren't going where they are now, right?
Nah, they definitely can't be.
No,
surely.
They're not going there.
So those Salamanders are deploying behind the Lumineth places. The Chameleon Skinks are going up there. Apparently.
Chameleon Skinks are going in this part. Oh, okay. So they've dropped down here so that they can be buffed next turn by all of these models here, so that they can do the mortals. I'm with you. I don't see that at all. I don't understand that. Like, this right here, this objective might be bait. Maybe it's bait, but it looks really ripe to the taking for me. I'd have dropped 40 skinks on this top objective, tried to blow off this unit of wardens, and then I'd have just been like, cool, this is my top bit now. I guess he's
Yeah,
then
he
not
would be.
able to use the command ability for stand and shoot, I guess, and that's pretty clutch. That doesn't really work, so you could just teleport a 10 and then just make it so that...
I think if these wardens here survive, that's going to be really big for Matt, because it means he can then actually move on to that objective and properly take it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like...
We've the salamanders have done a teleport, so this is how the board looks. The buffed up unit skinks have run into the center. We have our chameleon skinks of 15 drop down now, but they've dropped to the back of the board for a buff this turn. We have another unit of 10, and so now we have the unit of salamanders, and they are targeting this unit of sentinels here. Now the sentinels are a shining company, right? Is that correct? Because they're not moved.
Yeah, they are definitely in that shining company, so they're going to be -1 to hit.
And now
but the
they
salamanders do have +1 to hit, so
Yes.
it's just going to negate each other.
But we have also heard the Aether Quartz has been popped, so that is going to change up the math a little bit there. So the sentinels,
because they'll put them on a 4+ save, but the salamanders are running 2, so they're going to be on a 6+, 5+.
It's interesting we didn't see that both of their Aether Quartz popped. We didn't see it used twice with that command ability. Maybe because there's only 1 CP left available for the Lumineth Realm Lords, and they're going to want to use that for an immune to battle shot, potentially.
I think he's saving that for in case he gets a double. So because if the Seraphon player gets a double here, those salamanders are going to be able to go for Techless. So if he saves that command point, he can then pop 2 Aether Quartz on himself,
Yes,
which will basically mitigate the salamander's rend. Of
course, and we've also seen the Triumph has been used by the Seraphon players if they need anything else. They use the Salamanders. Now the Salamanders, the most effective unit in Age of Sigmar, maybe one of the most effective units in Age of Sigmar at the moment. But if you compare it to how ugly they are as a model, there's a direct weird correlation that they are definitely the most successfully ugly models.
At least we know for a fact that Games Workshop don't do rules for selling models, right? You know, because they don't want to sell ugly models, do they? Surely.
No. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So we're seeing these guys. So the Salamanders attacks. Their Stream of Fire, 4 attacks base, hit on 3s, wound on 3s. Now that's not going to be changed because +1 to hit on the Salamanders, -1 to hit. Right, so we've just heard, is this before or after saves, is the question.
Yeah, Salamander's apparently done 25 damage, but before saves.
25 damage has just been done by the Salamanders. 25 from a 330-point unit, yeah. And we've still got the 5-up protection of Techless save. So
I'll be honest, don't see that mattering somehow.
Oh, he's rolled quite well. He's rolled pretty well. He's taken 16 of those Sentinels are gone, which is pretty good. He's neutered the unit. I mean, he rolled really well on the 5-ups.
That is crazy.
Oh, wow. So we've heard right now that the plan is for the... Doesn't the Skinks require to have gone? Yeah, okay.
Well, it also, so basically, the plan that we've just heard about, it was Matt was thinking, I'm going to use the Calathar's ability to, on a 2+, bounce the Bravery onto another unit. However, obviously, that plan won't work because unless you've taken a casualty, you don't have to take a Bravery battle shock test, right?
Correct. Yeah,
so even though, and also those 40 Skinks in the middle are immune to battle shock anyway, so the plan that was sort of being concocted wasn't going to work anyway. No. So...
I mean, that's pretty brilliant. He's got to be really happy about that.
He's got to be super happy about killing 16 Sentinels.
Happy about killing that many Sentinels. And really, again, I think, like we talked about, probably the most relevant thing to take out from this army. He's still got the charge phase to come as well. Not the worst in combat either. 3 attacks base.
I'm surprised that he's put those, not taking the casualties away from where the Salamanders are. But essentially, that's almost bait to stop him from charging those Wardens.
Yeah. And I mean, look, if the priority roll goes to Seraphon now, it's not a game over, but it's another withering round of fire. Those Salamanders aren't going to get +1 to hit, so actually the math into that unit of Wardens is going to be hard. So, but the Skink shooting in the center that with all of those buffs has killed one whole shark. So Adam, a little bit more than we thought that they were going to do.
Yeah, so they've done I predicted 8 wounds and they did 7. So I'm claiming that because those sharks have already taken 6.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 died and then 1's taken a wound. So those skinks only did 7 wounds to that shark unit.
Yeah, pretty big. So yeah, he might. I don't know if he charges the sallies at this point. I think you don't want to take the damage back from the sallies, and also don't forget you don't want to take any battle shot tests on any models because there's a battle shot test to be taken on this unit of sentinels, and the Cathalar could pass that on to the salamanders if he goes for the charge and if he uses some skinks. So charging is the wrong play in this situation. Set himself up for the double. Also, and the unit ran. All of the sentinels are gone. So that's interesting. Oh.
So a unit ran as into what can shoot.
Oh, okay.
So he had a unit of 10 skinks run, so they can't shoot.
So we haven't even
but those salamanders back there, I think you potentially charge just to mop up the sentinels.
No, I don't think you charge the sentinels at all because you're not going to kill them all. And I think the key part here is look where the salamanders positioned. They're near no objectives, and he has to. The only threat he's got to bring them back. They tried to charge anyway. I think that's better for them personally because really, look at this unit of wardens. They're going to have to move back. They're going to have to move backwards away from the objectives.
Yeah,
and I think that's a positive, right? Like, I think that's a big positive. However, in the charge phase, all of the units tried to charge. So the salamanders tried to charge, failed, and the Seraphon tried to charge. Sorry,
I honestly don't think it matters, to be honest. Any of those charges, I don't think any of those sentinel charges matter. But those sentinels have passed their battle shot from the Calathar, rolling a 2+ to do their battle shot for them, which is just lovely.
Right, so we're into priority now, ladies and gentlemen.
This is huge, I think. This is a huge priority.
I think Seraphon Seraphon are red. So I think, let's just hear. Pretty certain that we've just seen Lumineth get it.
I think Lumineth need it.
Lumineth have taken the priority. They have got the turn, they've taken the priority. They needed that, hey Adam?
Yeah, 100%. I think if they didn't get that priority, I think it would have put Lumineth in a super tough spot because those 20 wardens that are on the side, I think they just die from from 3 salamanders, to be honest. The shark's gone, and then all you'd have left is a brick of 30 wardens and techless.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a character even nearby close enough to do stun and shoot for the skinks? Because I don't think there is.
I honestly don't know. If there's not, that's going to be a big mistake.
What realm is it? Oh, I suppose they're inside the realm shape, but I don't know. I think it might be wholly within 12. It's not wholly within 18. Can't be wholly within 18.
I'll have a look while we're looking at the rest of the turn.
And if you find out if it's wholly within 18, I don't want to know, if I'm honest. Shut up! Shut up, is it 18?
Why?
Shut up! Why? Is it so good? Okay, fine. That's my moment of impartiality over. I'll be back.
Awesome.
What the fuck? Oh, well, Hippie Chef, thanks so much for subscribing. First time, big love. Hippie Chef. 18 inches, what the fuck?
Oh my god, it is 18!
Oh my god, what a joke.
Okay, that's fine, it's fine. Everything's fine, right? We know Seraphon are bent anyway. We don't need to keep reading into it. At this point, I just assume Seraphon can do whatever they want when I play them. So when I play them, I'm like, oh, can you do this? And I'm just like, you know what? Probably yes.
Oh, dear.
It's great.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway.
Fine.
Interesting stats. I'm pretty certain. I'm not 100% certain, but in TTS, since the data's been collected from our man Owen, he was telling me, and I don't want to mess up the numbers, but the Fangs of Sotek list that we're seeing played, not list, but Fangs of Sotek as a sub-faction, if you take out when they had to play other Seraphon armies, have got a 75% win rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, every time I see Fangs of Sotek, in the hands of an average player, I don't mean this offensively or anything, but basically in the hands of like a regular Joe sort of player, they are incredible. If you give them to someone who is a really good Warhammer player, I don't see them losing. That's genuinely how good I think this list is.
Yeah, same.
Like, it's just crazy. If I played Fangs of Sotek a couple of times myself, and if I play someone who is really good with at Warhammer, I just lose. I haven't won against it yet. Whereas I've played a couple of people with it, and I've won it once with the cockatrices, but that's not the point. But yeah, I think it's such a crazy list. They've got tools for everything that they want to do, and it is a super hard game to try and play them, because you've got to be thinking about screening, you've got to be thinking about mortal wounds, you've got to be thinking about spells, you've got to be thinking about how they can teleport, how they can just snag objectives. There is so much to be thinking about. So it is really, it's just important that Matt got that turn, right? Because if he didn't get it, it would have just been, it would have been game over, 100%.
Agreed. Now, I think there's going to be some interesting tech here. Let's talk about what I think is the big play, and a bit of a mistake by Trogdor. This unit here of ethereal. Oh, Teclis choosing to cast 2 spells on a 12, not auto cast 1. Here we go. This is interesting.
He's going for that protection. I'm curious what his second spell is going to be.
Yeah,
That's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah. What is the second spell? I reckon it's going to be. I don't know actually. Oh, it's going to be.
What I mean.
Surely it's going to be the Technado.
Nah, I don't see the point in going Technado, if I'm honest. I don't see it.
Yeah, so Chris Jr., I was about to talk about that. So actually, I think the big play here and the mistake by Trogdor, which is why I was zooming in on the screen, this unit of 10 Skinks has actually given Matt a massive opening. Because if he manages to take these Wardens and he charges into the 10 Skinks, he can then just elect to be outside of 3 inches of the unit of Scary Skinks with all the buffs, meaning they can't use their command ability to retreat, and then he can pile in, and he's got those 3-inch range weapons, and he can bring all that damage to bear on the big Brock of 40 Skinks. So really, he's given him a bit of a play there.
That's what I said. Like I was saying on the last turn. That's why I think putting those 40 there was just a huge mistake to kill 1 shark. Yeah, I think that was a really big mistake. And if Matt notices it, he can do some serious hurt to that unit there.
Oh, but big play there. So the Wardens, as you can see, down. So the 20 Wardens are not as big a deal. So empowering the 20 Wardens' weapons, so they do mortals on 5s, got unbound from Croak across the board. Got to talk about that ability to, normally if you're casting spells this far away from the backboarded caster, no drama. But that, again, another feather in the Seraphon cap, the ability to board wide unbind, gives you the option, right? You're like, cool, I'll give it a try. Yeah, and he's got 3 unbinds to give it a whirl.
That rule is a bit, to me, it's a bit like the Mortek crawlers stopping Gits, right? Because of that ability being in the game, it stops a lot of armies just going, I'll take a caster just in case I can get 1 spell off. You know?
And now when they're on the board, you're like, no, just no chance. So it'd be interesting to see like what happens in the next Seraphon shooting phase. Magic phase, and what he decides to do. I don't think we're going to see Teclis move aggressively again. I think he's going to hope that those Wardens, but those Wardens move into the centre. If they're not ethereal, Adam, in the middle again, there's 2 Salamanders right at the back. Those 2 Salamanders can do some pretty good work. Summoning points. We sat on 7 summoning points for the Seraphon. They've still got those chameleon skinks that they can teleport next turn. And ultimately,
yeah, there's so much that he's like. The Seraphon player's got so many tools that he can call upon here. But like I said, those chameleon skinks, they're going to get buffed up. They're going to get sent into somewhere. So if those Wardens aren't ethereal, he's going to be taking a lot of hurt in next turn.
Okay, yeah. I'm feeling that. I really am. I hear you. I think that there's some... Wow, that's huge. So the other unit of Wardens, so this big brick of 30... looking to empower their Sun Spears. I think they're Sun Spears.
Something like that. Sun Spear,
Sunsteel Metal. So yeah, looking to empower them. So their mortal wound. So on 5s to hit as opposed to 6s to hit, they cause a mortal wound. Again, Croak, Magic Dom. He literally just licked the face of Teclis from across the field there. He was like, no. Frog says no.
Nah, mate. Nah, not having that. No chance.
The Frog was having none of it, and he shut him right down. So that shut down as well, which is going to really change the math on what he was going to do to that unit of Skinks. Because that unit of Skinks, pretty buffed up. They're on a 4-up armor save at the moment. Yeah,
so the Wardens, have they got Rend? I can't remember if they've got Rend or not.
Yeah, they have.
So with with Rend, he's going to be going into those skinks and be taking putting them on a 5+ save. So with those mortals, he would have done quite a lot. But we've just seen that Teclis has got off total eclipse. So he's going to be forcing those Seraphon players to be now using 2 command points. And I'm not sure how many points he's currently got. So he's got 2. So if he wants to use that command ability to shoot in the charge phase, he's going to have to use both of those CPs now to do that, which is going to leave him on 0 into his next turn.
So base stat for the Wardens, if anyone's interested, there's 2 attacks each. They hit on 3s, they wound on 4s, they've got Rend 1, they 1 damage. However, they've got a Wall of Blades ability, which is if the target unit made a charge move in the same turn, add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks that made with this unit's Warden's pikes and improve the Rend characteristic for that weapon by 1. So actually, if you charge them, they're Rend 2. Wait,
no, so they don't have Rend. But if you charge them, they get 1 Rend. But I think the champion of the unit has a sword which has a Rend. So the spears have no Rend, but the sword has 1.
I read the champion's weapon. You're right, boys. Thanks very much. Yeah. So apologies. Thank you very much.
Oh, how could you not know every single war scroll in the game?
It's just 7 hours later. That's fine, but I'm not making an excuse. I just read the top line, so thanks, boys. So they have no Rend. They have no Rend. I was like, Rend 2, that's fucking good. But thankfully,
that's great, right?
Yeah, thankfully, that's not the case. The Skinks are currently on a 4-up armor save, is what they are. So that
I wonder if he will break that Shining Company so he can charge.
Yeah. But they're not ethereal now, are they? They're no longer ethereal. No. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Chris Jr. and also lovely seeing him in the chat. That I think that the Wardens are going to lose that fight. 4 up save, re-rolling 1s versus a bunch of attacks with no Rend but no mortal wounds. That's pretty good. That's even if they don't run away. If the stand and shoot happens, then I think that they're going to, because don't forget those 6s to hit in combat. Those 6s to wound, cause a mortal wound, also apply in combat.
So the Shining Company is being broken, so I think he is going to be going for... He's 100% going for a charge. Whether he goes into that 40 block, I don't know. But that Shark there is going to go into that 10 and potentially pile into the 40 Skinks anyway.
Yeah. So this unit of Wardens is actually down to 28, not a unit of 30, because the Realm Shaper blew up the piece of terrain near them and took them down by a little bit. The other thing to point out for you guys, I just want to let you know what happened in the hero phase in the casting. Teclis chose to cast 2 spells. He decided to cast the spell that makes all CP usage cost twice as much, and of course, Protection of Teclis. Now, the big plays, Croak showing the big buff daddy, is the fact that he took that big unit, that he stopped both units of Wardens from empowering their Sunmetal weapons. Both units got stopped there. There's Sunmetal, Warden's Pikes, Empower, Power of Heesh, anyway, whatever it's called, whatever their weapons are. But they stopped them being empowered, which is huge. He stopped both of them. That's going to affect their combat with these salamanders at the bottom. It's going to affect their combat with these Skinks. And potentially, as we're seeing from everyone in the chat saying, it's going to change the balance of power in that combat so that it actually goes the Skink's way, of course. That unit of 20 also breaking Shining Company and looking to charge those salamanders. But, great play by Trogdor in his placement. We were critical, both me and Adam were critical of where he placed that unit, but ultimately he's done a good job here of dragging Matt away from the objective. He can't leave the salamanders alone. He just can't.
He has to deal with them, doesn't he? He has to deal with them,
which means he's dragged to the back of this board here, away from that top objective, meaning he's not scored it again, because I don't think I've seen him put a body on that board yet.
Yeah, I think he tagged it with
he towed it. Yeah, he towed it on the first turn. All right, so we're good there. And then it's going to be about this allied shark. That net launcher, as we know, Age of Sigmar, most powerful weapon you can find, is a net. And that net is going to be shot at that net being shot into the skinks means they're not going to be able to pile in, and that could change the shape of that combat as well. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he gets that shot off. It's on a 3 though, right? No re-rolls.
Yeah,
he didn't get
so 3
Lambert
plus,
Light off.
no re-rolls.
Yeah.
And if he gets it, if he hits, then he will stop that unit from piling in, which could then make him win that fight, potentially, because he can stay out of, because obviously he's got a 3-inch range, he can stay out just inside that 3 inches. The skinks have only got a 1-inch range, which means they then can't pile in, and then he can hit full force, and the skinks can't touch him back.
Yeah, it's interesting though. We talked about him attempting that long bomb charge into the 10 so that he could pile in. Ultimately, that's a 10-inch charge, and it's a much shorter charge range into the big block of 40, which is going to give him that ability to run away. But what we might see is the shark attempt the charge, lock him in and see if the 4-up happens, and then get the charge in. So we might see that occur.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think if that net goes off, that is going to be huge. That is going to be massive, and I think that could almost that's almost a game-winning shot in my that shot. If that hits, that could be game-changing, genuinely game-changing.
There's a couple of big plays here. Stephen, lovely seeing you in the chat. There's a lot going on here. So, if the shot happens, no piling, yes or no? Excited to see that occur. If the charge comes off, pretty good. Are we going to see that unit decide to stand and shoot and run away? Yeah, does he decide to charge him with the shot first? Is it going to run away? Big play. However, any damage that comes into that unit of Wardens can be tanked by the Cathalar and then drops onto that unit of Skinks. Unfortunately, that unit of Skinks are immune to Battle Shock. So that isn't going to affect them, I'm pretty certain. So the Cathalar isn't going to be able to affect them there. So that's some pre-thinking there in that situation, because they don't have to take a Battle Shock test and they automatically pass it. So that is going to be important for those Seraphon as well. So the Cathalar are not able to use its ability here. But the Cathalar might be able to affect the combat that's going to happen in this bottom hand corner against Salamanders. Yeah, that might be what we see.
Yeah, but I think if the thing is, if those Wardens at the bottom there don't chew through enough Salamanders, if they only manage to kill the handlers, for example, those Wardens are going to get wrecked. It is going to hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if he loses 10, 15 of them to 3 Salamanders.
Oh, okay. Big calls. Teclis going to fly in the middle of the board there. It's going to be a bit awkward because there's a big tree.
But also got to be careful of that 18-inch bubble as well. Because if he moves too far away, then again, those 20 Wardens at the bottom, if they get hit by those Salamanders, they're not going to get that 5+ DPR.
Now, I know for a fact, Matt, Adam, that you said, you were like, oh, it's quite tight. But when he put him in the middle of the board there, it looked like most of the board. It looked like most of the board.
I thought so where he was deployed to start with, I think where he was on a slant, it made the circle look a lot smaller.
That's
and I was
huge.
extremely wrong. That is massive.
Everything in there has got a 5-up DPR. Everything. That's
I was wrong.
Wild.
Wow.
Age of Sigmar 3, smaller board. That's going to be basically board.
That is the whole board.
Yeah.
That is 100% the whole board if we go to a smaller board, which is definitely 99.9% happening.
Yeah.
Want to sell them Warcry boards, right?
We've got to get them Warcry boards sold. So yeah, moving the center, pretty aggressive. Croak now, who previously was casting spells without Teclis trying to magic dominate him, they now are in unbind and casting range of each other. So Croak had that long range ability to try some unbinds. Now Croak's going to be amongst it. Don't forget, casting any spells into this Seraphon, into this Lumineth force is an issue because of that protection of Kelenar as well on Teclis. So that's going to cause some drama in the slapback. Any spells cast, they're going to be he's not really going to want to do the chip damage. I don't think.
This is what I mean by at the start of the game when I was saying that I genuinely think you almost ignore Croak as the Seraphon player. You say, right, my Croak is almost irrelevant. I use him as a piece to stop the spells, not even to cast them. Because like I said, Trogdor has got enough tools in his army to deal with Matt's Lumineth, and actually he doesn't need Croak in the army. Like that's almost how good this Fangs of Sosek list is, right? So he can almost say, you know what, I'm not going to cast any spells with Croak because there's more of a chance of it going bad for me.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's worse for Croak. So neutering Croak, even though he hasn't spent loads, I mean, it's 400 points with all the the buffs and stuff. I mean, it's a little bit more than 400. It's close to 5 actually, with the Astroloth Banner Bearer and also the Balewind Vortex. So a significant amount of points have been spent on Croak to make him usable in the game, and Teclis just being there is going to be important. I wonder if Teclis is going to go into the Skinks as well.
It wouldn't. Teclis is surprisingly hard in combat. He's surprisingly good in that combat, and we've just seen him shoot those 10 Skinks there and kill 3 of them, I think. So he's just killed 3 Skinks from shooting just from Teclis' ability, or from his shot that he's got.
Yeah. So we're just seeing now there's another unit of 10 Skinks right here at the top right hand corner. So they're like looking to whittle those down, all these little units of 10. I think is going to be pretty clutch. The Seraphon being able to just drop units everywhere. I mean, man, even just teleporting like a Skink Priest, this top objective just grabs it off it, right? That's pretty key. So we've just seen the Alapex now with those 4 shots, pretty deadly into.
Oh, so he shot the net into the 10 Skinks.
He shot the net into the Skinks.
So that net didn't go into the 40, so it's gone into the 10 Skinks, and it's killed 3. But I'm surprised that's not going into the 40.
What?
Really surprised.
What? Oh wait, I think he got the net. Oh wait, did he have? Let me just check his armor list. 1 second.
Yeah, he definitely has the net. 100% has, because both sharks in that unit both had nets. So yeah, to not shoot that net into that 40 is massive, and it looks like he's just charged into that 10 that he shot. So he's not going for that 40. He's potentially not even going to bother charging into them. He might just ignore them.
He did break the Shining Company though, so you would assume he's going for the charge here into the center. The Alapex has charged into that unit of 10. That's thrown us all for a kill to there. We all thought that block of 40 was getting hit by the net and being able to not pile in. So really surprised that we haven't seen that shot go into the block of 40, and instead it's gone into this unit of 10. I think he's looking to do the same thing that we think that should be done to the Lumineth player, and it's just like, I'm going to take out these 10 Skinks, I'm going to take out these 10 Skinks, I'm going to take out these 10, I'm just going to take out the board.
I think it's a good strategy. I do think it's a good strategy. I think he had a really good chance there to stop that 40 from being so efficient.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if he'd got the spell off to make these do mortal wounds on 5-ups, that combat, I would say, is going to be pretty effective into the Seraphon. But at the end of the day, they're going to run off all the objectives. Maybe it's just a big scoring turn. Maybe he's like, I'll score big, and then I'll hold on.
Yeah, so that's 30. I wouldn't be surprised if they string out to sort of block the teleporting from the Seraphon, so he can sort of have that board presence, that board dominance.
Well, we see now an 8-inch charge. 8-inch charge gone in here, so he's going to have to get within half an inch with his first model, so I think he is. So he's going into the big block of 40. Yeah.
So he has got in there, but it's whether now, obviously, once this charge is complete, we're going to see the Skink shoot at them. And that is going to be where, I think...
Oh, so it's wholly within 18 inches of the Realm Shaper engine, and they are not. It's 21 inches, so he never had a character in range to do that. So we're not going to see that. So that's not in range. So only that unit of 10.
Yeah, so those 30 going in there is less awful of an idea than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So that's a positive. But he's still going to get to a pile and attack with quite a few of the Skinks after the combat. It's going to be, and of course, if he's going to go for the charge into the Salamanders at the bottom, that's a risky pick. You've got 30 Wardens or 28 Wardens going into 40 Skinks with all the buffs, and then you've got 20 Wardens in the bottom into the Salamanders with +1 to hit. Which one do you activate with first?
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. Do you even
Oh yeah,
charge
of course.
with that
No,
unit at
hold
the
on.
bottom?
No, hold on. Thank you very much.
Ah, the
'Cause of
Lumineth rule,
allegiance
right?
ability. Yeah, the allegiance ability.
Yes.
You get to fight with both charging units. You get to fight with both charging units at the same time. So
That's crazy. I always forget about that rule. Always forget about that rule. Luckily, I can buy a new battle tome in a few weeks' time to remind me of it.
so
So yeah, so luckily he's going to go in with both units, attack with both, and see how much damage he can do. I think if he does enough, he's going to be in. Yeah, he's going to. Well, I say neuter the Seraphon player, but let's be honest, he's still going to have a billion tools left to play with anyway.
yeah,
So you know,
I can't wait to see how this. I think how this should goes. So yeah, so 2 units to be able to activate. So you don't even need to make the choice. Don't worry about it, Adam. All good.
it's all right. So Tech doesn't have to roll dice and he doesn't have to worry about activations. I love it. Brilliant.
It's only 2 units. It's fine.
Is that it? Okay.
It's
I suppose Deepkin can do everyone at turn 3, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know.
Like, he's going to get to activate with this small unit of skinks into the Alapex, at least, before the setback.
I think that's going to do loads, isn't it?
It's true, they won't be able to pile in. That is an issue. I still think the skinks have got this, by the way. I still think the skinks have got this. Like, they're immune to battle shock. And look at the return fight. He's got that unit of run and shoot chameleon skinks at the back of the board, who can get all the buffs. He's also got that unit of salamanders for the counterplay. I think he can put a lot of damage into the wardens here in this front. And that really puts Teclis in a tough spot because he doesn't have a lot of tools here. So that 27 wardens have got to survive this combat with these skinks. They're immune to battle shock, so unless he wipes them all out, they've also got shooting and combat as well. And then they've got the salamanders and then the chameleon skinks to punch into them, which is pretty potent for controlling that board space. So let's see.
I think now going into those 40 skinks, like you tag them for the next turn as well, right? So it also gives you that decision for Trogdar to think about who he's going to teleport, because he can only teleport 1 unit every turn. So you know.
So Twitch chat, I need how many skinks you think are going to die. Adam, how many skinks do you think are we going to lift?
I reckon he's going to kill 8.
8?
8. I don't see any more than that.
You only see 8. I mean, they're pretty good. So it's 2 attacks each, but he hasn't put all of them in. The skinks aren't buffed next turn, they won't do much. Okay, 15 dead. But they're alive. They're buffed this turn. So, like, they'll do okay this turn.
Obviously, the Warden's got a 3-inch range, so they're going to get in most of the guys that are bundled up there are going to be hitting. But yeah, I reckon 8 to 10. 8 to 10, so that 4 plus 8, attacks, no rent.
40 attacks is probably what we're seeing going into those Seraphon. So, I don't think we're going to see more. I think 10's probably a bit.
I reckon 8. I'm calling 8. That's what I'm going with. Just because of that 4 plus save, with no rend going into them, that's going to automatically half the damage that's going to be going into them. So even if you've got 40 attacks, you're looking at, like, what, 15, 18 wounds?
Oh, yeah, don't forget, we've got the mortal wounds as well.
I did it. I've included that in my math.
Yeah,
so because those mortals aren't buffed, they're only on a 6 plus. So
yeah,
they're
that
not
was
on the 5, they're only
that
on
was a
6s.
massive unbind by Croak earlier in the game, right? That was a big play. Where he just rolled some dice.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. This is gonna be interesting. So we also got the charge off in the other unit of
I love this.
They're into the salamanders.
I love what he's doing here.
Do you tell us what he's up to?
Those Lumineth at the bottom, so those Wardens, he's using that charge to... He's obviously charged into Salamanders, but with the rest of the unit, instead of going towards the Salamanders, he's using that charge move to actually move backwards onto the objective. So he's spacing himself out with that charge move, which is just... It's brilliant. I love it when people use that charge to use it as an extra move.
But he hasn't put a lot in with the Salamanders. He must think that he's going to do some good damage into the Salamanders.
And I don't think he would have got enough in it. So the ones that he's moving away, I don't think he would have got them in anyway. So right. It's sort of like, rather than wasting their potential, you might as well use them to board control.
I guess, but they're going to get slapped in combat.
I don't know. I love it. I love seeing plays like this. I think it's just such. This is really just good Warhammer when you see players using that charge for other things.
It's 2 attacks apiece, right? Like, so what we got so far? 1, we got 7, maybe 11. Like, let's just call it. Let's. So the High Warden's in range, and he has an ability on his War Scroll to do some mortals as well. So we can't forget that. But still, it doesn't seem terrifying, right? Yeah, Bravery 10, they're outside of the Aura of Sadness, as you can see from the Cathlar in the middle, so not in range of that. And also, is it models within or units within the protection of Teclis? So I think it's units wholly within. So I don't
check that for you.
Thank you very much. It's not a good play. Isn't even stop Trog teleport. Yes, so it's a unit wholly within 18. I'm not vibing on this at all. I'm not vibing on this bottom charge at all. I want you to
love it. Don't care.
Nah, I'm not. This is bad. That protection of Teclis is gone as well. So we'll see. We'll see. So the War Scroll ability to pop his flask. He's killed 1 skink handler so far from the mortal wounds from the champ. So that's 2+, and you do D3 mortal wounds, but he's only done the 1 there. Adam, I'm not vibing on this at all. I feel like this is.
I love it. I'm committed. I really, really like it.
So the unit that attacking the salamanders are using an Aether Quartz, so they're going to have +1 save. I'm pretty certain. So they're going to be on a 3-up armor save now. So their save against salamanders. They're using it to hit. Sorry, they're using it to hit.
I think with the those warders, I think charging the salamanders in general wasn't a good idea, if that makes sense. But because even if you put, like you're saying, using those extra guys that he's used to sort of screen out into them, he still wouldn't have done a lot. So at least he's using that unit for something. If that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Like I just think charging them wasn't the right call, because if he once those salamanders go in, the salamander's gonna do more work in this turn than the wardens are gonna do.
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of people talking in the chat about the Aura of Sadness here. So that's from the Cathlar. Cathlar in the middle of the board. This line, this Aura of Sadness, as you can see, all of the wardens are outside of the range of it, as is the salamanders. So they're not going to be able to do any emotional transference there at all. They could potentially do some of that into this unit of skinks, but that unit skinks is immune to battle shock, so it's not going to be a trouble.
Are they in range of Teclis? Oh, they're not even going to be in range for a command point to stop battle shot.
No, they're not in range of command point to stop battle shock. So we'll see.
So the salamanders are going to hit and just battle shock them off, right?
Uh-huh. So the wardens have struck, I think. Let's just find out from our table boss right now. So in total, they've done 7 wounds.
Yeah, that is not enough. Those 3 salamanders
but bravery 10.
Yeah.
Bravery 10. What would you do in this? Do you always have to apply the wounds to the skink handlers, like every time? I don't think there's a rule for that, is there?
No, you can allocate to a salamander, but obviously as soon as you allocate 1 wound, you've got to allocate all your wounds onto that one.
I don't know. In this situation, I'd be tempted to just stick 2 onto a salamander. Oh, and he has done that. So in total, he's lost 5. So that battle shot test, the worst thing that's going to happen.
He's going to lose a single skink.
So he's lost 6 handlers and 1 salamander's down to 1 wound. I think that's a good decision.
His battle shock now is only good. So on a 5 or a 6, he loses a model, which he's got 2 Seraphon or skinks there. So if he rolls that 6, he just loses 2 more skinks. Yeah. So yeah, that is definitely the right call there.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision, because he's going to want to hit back, and he's going to want to keep them alive for the next turn, because we are going into Seraphon turn 2 after this. Yeah. So there's still a lot of output to come from this Seraphon force very quickly. I wonder, Adam, how you feel about the fact that we haven't seen the Technado used at all? Twitch chat, also your feelings on here. I know a lot of people think it's a gimmick or maybe a meme, but that spell portal's been put in the list, and I'm sure it's been used several times.
I think, so in this list, I personally think the spell portal isn't for Technado. I think it's more for the bravery debuff thing. So you bravery debuff and cast crippling vertigo, I think. So every time that they unit tries to do something, it stops they have to take a bravery check on 2d6, and if they fail it, they can't normal move, pile in, charge. So it's basically a pseudo Bellicor. But obviously against Seraphon, because they're in Starborn, they're bravery 10. So that crippling vertigo does not work as effectively. And I think that's what Matt's put it in the list for. And then Technodo's like a added extra if he ever wants to go for it.
Interesting. Like, I feel like, why wouldn't you want to do that damage all the time? But like, and also I wonder as well, like, normally Matt, I assume, other than the times he's played Seraphon previously, has got like some pretty strong magical dominance. Casting 4 spells on a 10 gives you a load of options.
Yeah. I think I think the Seraphon sort of neuters Teclis's ability, but like we were saying, Teclis kind of neuters Croak's ability, right?
Yeah. Like they've both made each other fairly useless because you have to have protection of Teclis. Okay, so we just see the Wardens have rolled really hot though.
Wow.
Really hot. 11 mortal wounds already from the Wardens into those skinks.
Yeah, that's
real
good.
Yeah, they on 6s as well. Don't forget it was not buffed. So that's already beaten our numbers. Not too bad, but pretty good. So yeah, like I think that's pretty interesting. But like I was going to say, I think Croak has shut down how many tools have been available to the Lumineth Realm Lords player ultimately.
Yeah,
because you have to get protection attack. Oh, baby, nice. 15 skinks. 15 skinks out of that combat. It's pretty good.
Yeah. That is good. That is as Matt has just whispered in my ear, that's about twice as many as I've said. But I'm only claiming if he didn't roll that many 6s, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean he rolled really well.
He rolled real hot.
He rolled super well. That unit's immune to battle shots, so this isn't going to be a drama. And now the Seraphon can attack back. There are 3 units available to attack back and some ongoing combats. There's a unit of Seraphon, this unit of Skink, at the top, who can't pile in because they were shot with that net launcher, so they're going to attack into this Alapex. So there's
oh no. Here comes the hurt. 3 skinks into the Alapex.
The Alapex is going to strike back. They did no damage. 3 skinks did nothing. And then we're going to see the Alapex strike back as well. In this situation,
it's going to kill that unit. Going to kill them.
Yeah,
because not only obviously because he shot that unit, he has also meant that he's going to be getting +1 attacks on his bite. So because they've lost a unit model this turn, he's going to be getting +1 attacks on that bite attack because of that feeding frenzy or whatever it's called.
Of course. But but he's going to be doing some really good damage into this unit.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because he's looking like he's measuring to see if he can get any of his attacks into that block of 40. So if he can get within, I don't know the range. It looks like he can't quite get in range that 40, so he is going to be going into that unit of 10 still. And it wouldn't surprise me if he just wipes that unit off the table at all. Like those 10 are not long for this world. They're going back into the Croak's mind because that's where the Seraphon come from, right?
That's the only place that they live.
Croak's just sat there imagining all these guys up, like, yeah, I've got this, guys. It's fine.
Dwarf Penguin in the chat, super happy that he called how many skinks we saw go down. I guess the question is then, we need the slapbacks. How many from the big unit of 27 Wardens do we think are going to go down?
15.
They've got reroll ones to save. You think 15? Interesting.
15.
From the skinks. How many are the skinks going to kill, and how many are the salamanders going to kill?
The skinks. I don't know.
The Alapex has murdered those skinks, though.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. What a shot. So good for 110 points. So good for 110 points.
Pointed perfectly.
Right, so salamanders first. I need your guesses. Adam, you called it last time. 15. That's a lot. They haven't got protection of protection of Teclis up either. Sally's for 8, says Hippie
So
Chat.
those 6s to hit are going to be doing D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I know. They've got +1 to hit as well. They're not in Shining Company. They've got +1. They gave themselves +1 to hit. They didn't give themselves +1 save. Skinks 11, Salamanders 13.
He only got like a quarter of the buffs then, did he? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Tubbs thinks it's going to be 10. Very interested. Oh, man. I'm excited to see this, because this is really important, this combat, because the number of units available for the Luminous Realm Lords is decreasing pretty rapidly. But then also that's true for the... Oh, no, it's not really true.
Is
Not...
it though?
In the back pocket, there's 2 Salamanders, there's the Chameleon Skinks, there's a couple of... There's a cast of characters at the back. And then, of
Not forgetting the
course,
summoning.
we've got summoning points. 7 summoning points already on the board there.
How many points is 10 Skinks, do you know? I can't remember off the top of my head. What are we looking at? So 10 Skinks is... 10 Skinks is only 6 summoning points. So he's already got enough in his pocket for another 10 Skinks, which he can summon and then teleport straight away.
This doesn't look like he's done very well here. I'm just going to call it. So, 63 damage is what's coming through. 12 damage. You almost called it. 12 damage.
Okay, so from that charge, the Wardens managed to do something like 8 wounds, and the Salamanders in return did 12.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's pretty rough.
Oh no.
Oh no. 12. That leaves them with 8 in that unit. And they are also outside of range of being immune to battle shock as well. There's no CP available or near them. The general, who's the Cathar,
my lover.
Yeah,
My
unless they're
friend.
brave.
Cool.
Yeah.
Matt is not going to be happy about that, I don't think. I think
He's
there's going
not.
to be some contemplations in his head going, why did I do this?
Yeah, he's going to be unhappy about that. Let's be real. The next question is, what are the... take us through the melee attacks, Adam, on that unit of Skinks while you know where I'm going. I'll be back.
So those Skinks, they have the daggers. So they are going to be 1 attack each at 1 inch range, hitting on 5s, wounding on 5s, no rend, 1 damage. But they do have +1 to hit, so they're going to be hitting on 4s. They also have... Oh, wow, there's so many buffs over here. They've also got, on a 6 to wound, they will be doing a mortal wound. So 4s to hit, and then we don't really care about the 5s to wound. We're just going to be fishing for those mortals. So I'm not entirely sure how many he's going to get out, to be honest. He's piling in the Skinks now, and he's probably going to get about, what am I thinking? 10, 14 in range, maybe 20. And then, so he's getting about 20 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. And they are +1 attack. Thank you very much. So they are +1 attack. So they are 2 attacks each with 4s to hit, 6s do mortal wounds on the when you wound. So I'm not sure how well these Wardens are going to take this punch, because they've got reroll 1s to save that we know. So we know they've got reroll 1s to save. And they are in range of that protection of Teclis. So these Skinks are either, if they spike on those 6s to wound, they're going to be getting a lot of mortal wounds through, which is going to obviously ignore the Lumineth save, and then he's just going to be on protection. So I think it's all about those 6s. It's all about fishing for 6s. What do you reckon? So we've got 6 dead Wardens. I'm going with 7. 7 or 8.
7. Okay.
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
What do you reckon? What do you think?
I don't know, man. Like, the numbers are pretty wild, right? Like, it's how many 6-ups? How many 6-up am I making from the to wound rolls, and then how many 5-ups am I making from Teclis? I don't know, though. I will tell you that I don't think, by the end of the Seraphon turn, I think neither of the 2 units of Wardens are going to be alive. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think after that turn, these Wardens, they're not long for this world, are they?
No.
They are not going to be there for much longer.
And there's still a double turn on the way. There's still a priority roll after this.
The potential for that double turn is going to be rough if Trogdor gets it.
It's super, super rough. Now, this unit of skinks that we're seeing here, I mean, they don't even necessarily have to be engaged in this fight. There's another unit of salamanders. There's those chameleon skinks at the back of the board. We did get a question earlier on, why did we see that unit of chameleon skinks deployed off the board, only to be dropped back on the board to right here? I'd say there's a couple of reasons. Mainly because it makes your opponent have to be careful where they're screening and zoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as we saw, Matt wasn't, even though Matt took the first turn, after he moved, he still wasn't able to control all of the board space, which gave this unit of 3 salamanders access to this unit of sentinels. Took the sentinels right out. Basically.
Straight away, wasn't it? Left 4, did 16 wounds, left 4 left. And then obviously, if those Lumineth do end up running away, if you can't leave 1 there, those salamanders are going to be just sort of wrecking that backboard and potentially going to techless next turn.
So we'll just see what's happening in this fight now. So the skinks are attacking. I don't think couldn't the 8th quartz be spent now? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's they can be spent at any time in the phase. I don't think you have to announce it at the time.
Didn't they already use it? So did he use the CP? Did he use his command point to use the? So this unit of wardens did pop their Aether Quartz because of the command ability. So he did spend a CP on it for +1 save.
How many CPs has got left?
Only one. Only
Wow,
one,
okay.
and we only lost 3 wardens in that combat. So, oh wow! So the unit of wardens looking to ignore battle shock. The Cathalar rolled a 1.
Good,
but they didn't lose that many. They only lost 3, so it's not a drama. They're fine with that. They don't care. So only 3 out of this unit. Only 3 out of this unit. Pretty big. And then he's gone and scored. And this back unit. Oh wow! Battle shock on this other unit of wardens now. What is he going to roll?
Huge.
It's going to be a big deal.
12.
Also, the battle shock on the salamanders.
I think he's losing 10. I think they're only bravery 6. So I think he loses 10 from that. Yeah, so if he's rolled a 2, I think he loses 10. I think is what he's going away with.
Which is more than he's got. I want you to say. He's only got 8.
Wow, okay. Oh no. Oh no, sorry, he's losing 8. Losing 8, I think.
Well, which is still the unit. So they're all gone.
They're gone. That charge was 100%. Yeah, he shouldn't have charged there, should he? I think he should have left that.
Well, like
this is.
See what? Let's just shout out Trogdor for a second here. He split the force. Like this force the Lumineth force wanted to move in 2 lines, 2 phalanxes up the board. Yeah, and then and that's why that teleport. That's why teleport is so strong. You're like, cool. Here's a major threat. Here's 330 points of threat in this ridiculous salamander unit. They're here now. It's a small footprint, and you could go forward to try and engage in the fight, or you can go backwards. Arguably, Matt should have just taken the turn and just pushed everything backwards and put as much into the salamanders as he could. Ultimately, he decided not to. He decided to try and engage on 2 fronts at the same time. History has normally taught us that that's not the right decision.
But then, if he didn't go for those salamanders, then if he didn't go for those, if he didn't push up, then he's not threatening the Seraphon player. So,
but he could have just cleared. He could you've got time. The battle plan is spread out, right? Like it's not like focal points or something. You've got time in the battle plan to potentially try to score.
Yeah. I just think those salamanders are super scary, aren't they? Because when you charge them, they're super tanky and they hit hard, and you have to do 9 wounds to them to even kill 1 salamander.
Imagine when they were 80 points each. Like imagine
Nope.
Some days I think thank you COVID is what I think some days. Yeah.
Well, let's just hope when we get back to real Warhammer, we're not going to see all the salamanders because they are ugly. That is
right. So we're listen. This is where we're at in Seraphon's turn 2. We're only in Seraphon's turn 2. They've only had a turn, and in the 1 turn they've had, they've been able to delete a unit of 20 wardens, and they've been able to delete most of this unit of sentinels. Really, for the Lumineth, all that's left on the board: Techless, the Cathalar, and a brick of dwindling wardens. here. I think there's.
Yeah, there's
However,
it's not good, is it?
Resource management wise, we've got 5 points of command points on the board. We've got 5 command points on the board for Seraphon and 12 summoning points. 12 summoning points. It's only turn 2. It's only turn 2. However, it is going to cost him 2 CP to use every command ability he wants to use now, thanks to the spell that Teclis has cast.
It looks like Teclis is out of range to unbind Croak. So Teclis is actually out. So Croak's gonna have free reign again, and he looks like I think he just cast Stellar Tempest. Was it?
He did cast Stellar Tempest.
So he's got Stellar Tempest, which means that he's gonna whack that on that unit of Wardens and roll a dice for every single model.
Oh, so Teclis is in range. Apparently, he's in range. So he's auto unbound Stellar Tempest. What would it have done, Adam?
So if I think I'm right in thinking Stellar Tempest is you pick a unit and you roll a dice for every single model in that unit, and on a 5+ they take a mortal wound. I think that's Stellar Tempest. And he's just got on Comet's Call Off, which is the board-wide mortal wound, going for D3 units. So we're going to see what he's going. I think he's going for those Sentinels, and he'll get to do D3 mortal wounds to them. So he gets to do D3 mortal wounds to D3 units.
D3 mortal wounds to D3 units. So yeah, that's pretty big. And what do you think he's going to go for? Is he going to try and hit that Cathalar? Is he going to try and keep punking this shark? This shark has taken 1 wound.
I think you go for the Wardens and potentially try and just nuke the Sentinels.
So he's hit the Sentinels. However, the Cathalar and the Wardens are ignoring it on a 4-up, which means they're going to be doing D3 mortal wounds back. Pretty much everything in that bubble now. But the poor Sentinels haven't had much love here.
Yeah, he does not. The Seraphon player is not liking those Sentinels. Even though there's only 4 left, he's like, "Nah, mate, get out of here. Get out of here."
Look at that. Looking to measure where he can do those D3 mortal wounds into the enemy, using them to snipe back. Croak is going to be in a tough spot here. He's going to do nothing in his magic phase because like you can see here, that protection of Selenar is doing some solid work.
Yeah, that is a great ability from the Califar. The Califar has some extremely good abilities on her War Scroll. And that aura is going to be super effective, obviously, as we've seen against Croak. So he's going to be obviously trying to do... So Croak hits a lot of units, which means that aura is going to be protecting a lot of units. If he rolls that 4+, he then bounces mortal wounds back. And because of Croak's spell, he essentially does more damage to Seraphon than he does to the Lumineth.
Yeah, so he's used the Cathalar to bounce 3 mortal wounds. So just if you guys are wondering what we're talking about, the Seeing Stone of Selenar, which is a priceless gift from Selenar to Teclis. Nice. This allows the bearer to see the flow of magic itself and alter it to its whim. Each time a friendly unit within range this model's aura of Selenar, which is 16 inches at the start if Teclis is unwounded. On a 4+, you ignore the spell effects. Then you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of that unit, and it suffers D3 mortal wounds. I mean, that's a massive buff if you think about it, Adam. Because not only does it make it so that you can just ignore the spells, but D3 mortal wounds, and it's not even the closest enemy unit. You choose an enemy unit within 18 inches is massive.
Yeah, that 18-inch bubble that I was talking about that was tiny earlier is actually rather big. It's quite a big range, is 18 inches. It's the same as most bows should be.
All bows. And blowpipes, arguably 8 inches, because it's a blowpipe.
6 inches, just because of the hate that they've created. I love how the Shadowstalker's shot is 6 inches, but the Breath of a Skink is 16 inches. But, that's fine, right?
They're aquatic, man. They work out a lot. There's a lot of running in that faction. So,
I see.
Big run capacity.
I thought they were just imaginary in Starborn. But,
so there are, look, getting rid of these Wardens, they've still got 1 Aether Quartz left, so they can give themselves another +1 save, right, in one of these phases. There's also that Alapex to deal with as well. It's not nothing, that Alapex.
Those Wardens have used both of theirs, haven't they?
No,
because they used... Last turn, they used it for hit and save.
No, they only used it for save. It was the other unit of Wardens that did it for +1 to hit.
So they got 1 Aether Quartz left. You're gonna have to use it this turn for the save. And it depends which phase do you do that in? Because do you do that when the salamanders shoot you, or do you do that when you're in combat?
Salamanders charge you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, when do you do it? Do you do it for the shooting or do you do it for the combat? Because both are gonna hurt.
It's true. It's true. There's also some output available, obviously via these chameleon skinks, which we still haven't talked about, and probably 12 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, Twitch chat. Pretty certain is another salamander in the mix. That can drop down. And the backboard is looking pretty weak for the Seraphon. And this is not for Seraphon, for the Lumineth Realm Lords. So the ability for them to just put units on any of those back objectives is going to be important, I think.
Yeah, because he's got 12 summoning points, right? So for that, he can get 10 skinks is 6 points. A salamander is 10 points.
Amazing.
Or he could get 3 Pterodon riders for 10 points. But I have a feeling he's probably going to go for another salamander. Because I don't think he needs the extra bodies at this point. I think he wants that extra damage output.
Okay, so he's just cast a spell making most of his units immune to battle shock. Is what we're doing. There's some questions in the chat on whether or not we think Lumineth can win the game from here. What do you think, Adam? Do you think that there are some outs here? Because it's looking rough.
Yeah, I think it really depends how this turn goes. Because those 20 Wardens, they've got to survive. And I don't see that happening. If they obviously die, all Matt is going to have left is a Shark, Teclis, and a Caliphar. And 2 Sentinels. Against basically the entirety of the Seraphon army still. So it is going to be super tough. I think it really depends on that unit of Wardens in the middle. If a couple of them can survive, then maybe he's got a chance. But I don't see it. I don't see it somehow.
It's true, and like Okpanda says in the chat, it's rare that anyone survives an attack from a prison shank. It's true. they are pretty down.
Yeah.
The king of prison shanking is the Seraphon. Just think all this Seraphon nonsense is all because of a bad turn for our hero Orkman. I agree. Our hero Orkman could have taken this out for us, but whatever. The shenanigans
Orkman is the real winner.
So we've just seen 4 CP spent. 4 CP spent, but it was only on 2 command abilities, but he's had to spend 2 per command ability.
That's
so
more CP than I normally have in a game, but that's fine.
So we do have mortals to wound on this unit of chameleon skinks. They've also got +1 to hit on there as well. So we'll see whether or not those chameleon skinks are going to be whipped across the board. What do you think their target's going to be? Look, here they come, those 2 salamanders. Surely we're going to see a 3rd salamander summoned in as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we
I think
see
that salamander would potentially just you clip onto this back objective where there's nothing on it, and then you string back the 3 handlers onto that, and then have your 1 salamander in range of Teclis, and then you have 4 salamanders potentially shoot into Teclis.
I mean, you can just bring those 3 salamanders back now, like as well. Like they don't have to stay there; they could just teleport because you can pick up from anywhere and put anywhere. Like it's not wholly; it's just like you to you, which is.
It's just hideous. It is having just a free board-wide teleport is horrific.
I mean, I would probably burn that Caliphar to death just because it would make me smart.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Yeah, I potentially just go for the 2 Sentinels just because those 2 Sentinels have survived. Like, I don't think it really matters what he goes for here. But
I do think he has to be cautious. Like there is we're turn 2 though. Turn 2, I mean, I think Matt's tried super hard here. I don't think that charge last turn. I think Matt, when Matt looks back, he'll say fair enough that wasn't the right decision. He should have put all of the Wardens, because if he'd have done another 3 wounds, if he'd have put everything into that unit, then we could have seen that whole unit of salamanders go to battle shock. Even if in the slapback, you lost the whole unit, that takes those 3 out of the run-in. Those 3 are now just fully in the game for the rest of the game, and that's.
And what's going to kill them back? Like, what is going to kill them back at this point?
Well, that's my point. Like, and he should have put everything into them. He really should have.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, but also let's talk about dice rolls. Matt's super unlucky, and Croak, obviously, that magic dominance, showing Teclis. He army-wide unbound 2 spells, and the 2 spells he unbound was empower weapons on both units of Wardens, which meant that unit of Wardens that went into the Salamanders, they weren't doing mortal wounds on 5s. Same as the unit that went into the Skinks. And the unit that went into the Skinks already did 11 mortal wounds. Doing it on 5s, they could have taken out most of that unit. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's that going from 6s to 5s is huge, isn't it? For your mortal wounds, it is massive. And to stop that on both the units it's just huge. Just
and again,
massive.
To stop it on any unit while being sat at the back of the board.
Yeah, like that's where Croak's efficiency comes in, right? Because a lot of his abilities are just board wide. So you can be so just basically obnoxious with him, to be honest. You sit him at the back and go, yeah, you're not touching him, and I'm going to still affect the game. Whereas most units in Age of Sigmar, they have to be in a threat range.
Yes.
So, like, if you, for example, if you have an 18-inch shot, you have to be in that threat range, which means that you're going to essentially get hit back. Whereas Croak just sits there going, yeah, I do what I want, and what are you going to do about it?
Hey, can I just say that there's another Salamander on the board, and I'm here for it. I like that one of the most, 2 of the most dominant models in all of Age of Sigmar are Finecast. Now, Croak looks good. Croak looks good, yeah. But to quote Tom from earlier in the reveal show, these are models that will melt if it's too hot outside. They are.
As an owner of 19 Finecast models, because I can attest to them literally melting in the sun.
Another Salamander on the board takes us up to 6. It's a 110-point summon.
Why?
It's pretty rough.
Why? Why is this not a thing?
I mean, I'm at this point, I'm here. But Trogdor, smashing it. Trogdor making some big plays. We wouldn't have put those Salamanders. We talked about it. We didn't put those Salamanders where he put them. Yeah, he played a different game. We wouldn't have put those Skinks where he put them. But he's probably played this army a lot. At the end of the day, those Skinks took that charge. They took it well. Like, they're still there. They're not bothered. So those Wardens are going to be in a real tough spot. I'm just going to put that out there. But he does have to make sure he gets some bodies on the objectives as well.
Yes, he's still got to make sure he's capping the objectives. Obviously, because he's got to play the game a little bit still. Because those camo Skinks have come down and tagged 2 objectives there. And because he's put 2 models on that middle objective, he's going to be taking that off of Teclis as well. So that unit of Chameleon Skinks is going to be taking 2 objectives and shooting into Teclis. So they're going to be doing a lot of work in this turn. Yeah.
So little Chris in the chat, and little Chris got some pretty big gaming prestige already for a young fella. Like, really, really good player. Thinks that the Salamanders are average. I don't agree with that sentence. But everyone's got everyone in the Twitch chat can say what they think. I think
I can understand where that comes from, because without that teleport, you are literally just walking them up, and they're not particularly fast.
It's true. I think they're the perfect situation we're using them in now. Okay, so the summoned Salamander has so far killed 1 Warden. Like, the unit, what I think is really good is because the way that the Seraphon army normally plays because of the teleport is it plays quite defensive at the back of the board, and then it throws out threats. That's what it does.
Yeah.
But it means if you run at them, all of their threats, which they're going to throw at you later, which are the Salamanders, are there. And I think that that 20-inch threat range from your deployment zone is quite nice, I think. But yeah, they're not the strongest in the game, but they're good. They're really good, and probably could be a few more points if we're honest. Truthfully.
100%. But then, is it that Salamander should be more points, or is it all the buff pieces should be more points at this point? Because I think the Salamander's probably about right. Because 1 Salamander, 110 points, that's not bad. It's the buff pieces that you get with it that are the things that need to be being put up, right?
Yeah. Wolf, good job. Yeah, you could describe it like that completely. So the 1 Summoned Salamander only killed 1 Warden. Listen, I'm rooting for the Wardens at this stage. You hold on, boys. You raise them shields. You form a testudo. Not that you would do that with a pike formation. So the Chameleon Skinks are splitting their shots between the Wardens. Between the Wardens and the Alapex. The first lot of shots that we're seeing right now, they're going into the Alapex. We still have...
What?
6 mortal wounds so far.
What?
And then the Alapex has taken 11 mortal wounds. He's still inside the protection range, though. Come on. 11 mortal wounds. We got this.
This game is breaking me.
Go on, Chameleon Skinks. Okay, so he's got 1 wound left, but 7 regular saves to make right now. Is he going to do it?
Okay, that's fine.
Come on, you've got this. You've got this,
What's the range of the
Alapex.
camo skinks?
Hey man, he took 1, but then he's got 2.
Look,
He's got 2 5-ups. If he does 2 5-ups, he stays. 2 5-ups. Come on. Oh, so close. So close. Okay, that Alapex is unfortunately also out of here. Right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've never like properly read the Chameleon Skink thing. And why are blowpipes 16 inches?
It's a universal question. But don't worry. Don't worry. I think the important point is now that Bliss Barb Archers are out there, arguably, according to all internet experts, the most powerful unit in any book. The Skinks will be dead from now, so you're safe, Adam.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because to be fair, Bliss Barb Archers, I think they're how shooting should be. That's how shooting should be.
I agree with you.
Like, but because Bliss Barb Archers, great war scroll.
Who's shooting into Teclis? Oh, they're shooting the rest of the shots into Teclis, or 2 shots into Teclis. Oh, no shots. Okay. So 3 Wardens also went down in the shooting phase. So we've seen 3 Wardens go down as well. So far, that takes us to 5. No, 4.
Yeah, I think you've got to just go for those Wardens. So you're going to see 2 Salamanders now go into those Wardens, and they're going to kill a fair few, and then they're going to charge into them, and then they're going to do a lot.
I'm surprised he didn't run away the Skinks, if I'm honest. I'd have run the Skinks away.
Yeah, well, if they run away, they can't shoot. So why not just leave them in, shoot, and do their combat? Because I don't see the Wardens surviving.
But what about the Aura of Sadness? It's usable, right? That 2-up, they could massively affect. You could
not if the unit's dead. And yeah, like don't forget because the Seraphon player casts that spell to make most of his units battle shock immune this turn.
Of course.
So that Caliphar isn't going to be able to bounce much back. And like I said, like those Skinks, you might as well just leave them there, shoot and fight with them. Because are they really going to affect the game? Does he need them to do anything else at this point?
Would you say right now, Adam, that and Twitch chat that Matt might be feeling an aura of sadness all on his own?
He's going to be going home, listening to some Mayday Parade, and looking at his Caliphar, going, "Why? Why is this my life?" Listening to those piano intros.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Okay.
Right. So I still think we're just seeing the rest of. So the unit of 2 Salamanders also shot into the Wardens. They're not looking very healthy now.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Wardens are. It would surprise me if they survive this turn. It really would, because he's going to have 2 Salamanders go in and all those Skinks attacking.
Yes, and Teclis is just pretty hemmed in. I'd also like to point out that all of the Sentinels died to the Salamander shooting at the bottom right-hand corner as well.
Really?
It's like a scalpel, right? That's what the Teleport and Salamander combo is. It's a scalpel. You can fairly guarantee that they're going to go and do a large volume of damage, and you can put them pretty much anywhere. They can go cut stuff apart. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. So we've got 13 Wardens is still pretty nice.
Yeah, so if he pops his Aether Quartz this turn, he's going to be on a 3-up save. So those Salamanders with that red and 2, he's going to be on a 5-up against those Salamanders. It's whether how many. I think it's the mortal wounds. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think depending on how many 6s he rolls for those mortal wounds to pop into, depends how well those Wardens are going to. I still don't see them surviving, and if they do, it's going to be like 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know if they'll survive. Like you said, the mortal wounds is a key feature, but I think Marcus Rock pointed out earlier they're not going to survive in any meaningful way. Oh, and the other salamander made the charge as well. Big roll.
Wow.
Got the 9.
Okay. I kind of want to see the chameleon skinks charge Teclis now. Just because. Like, just throw it in. Just go for it.
Get him in. Get him in. Also, importantly, we're going into a priority roll.
Oh, yeah. I kind of forgot about that, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Matt needs it.
So this is the unit of 2 salamanders.
Here we go.
First.
Come on, Wardens.
Oh. So they only did 2d3 mortal wounds for 4 mortal wounds into this unit, and then they've got that 5 up DPR
those
save.
Wardens, they'll be alright.
They'll
be fine.
Look at what Teclis is doing such a good job of like buffing the army, but like that's all that he's really doing like at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like
he's a bit like Catacross. So when people play Catacross, they spend 500 points and they just sit him in the middle doing nothing but sitting there with his buff up. Yeah. And actually sometimes it's probably better just to actually use him, because Teclis and Catacross, for example, are good in combat. They are good in that mid-range close combat role as well. And it's sort of that trap that you fall into of, all right, I've got a really good buff, I'm going to sit him and protect him for the whole game, when actually play dangerously. Like, play with that model. Use him effectively.
Yeah, I think there's also been some misplays in this match. Like if we're taking it through the charge at the bottom right, I think the decision to take the first turn then leave the sentinels free for a salamander teleport is an interesting one. I wouldn't mind if he did that for a bait. Maybe we'll hear from Matt. His choice was he planned it so he could bait out the salamander teleport, and then he could charge him with the wardens and clear him off the board. Maybe that was his plan, but then he didn't commit enough to finish that plan off, right? Which I think is key. Maybe he wasn't expecting to be unbound, but he didn't decide to attack that when he decided to go in. And then he split his forces in 2 different places, which was weird. And ultimately, if the Sentinels had been alive, they'd be doing all sorts of chip damage. I'm sure they'd be focusing in those salamanders.
But I think if Matt had played that right, I'm going to turn 5. I'm going to sit here in my brick and take 2, maybe 3 objectives a turn, and almost leave it at that. Get to turn 4, 5, and then go, right, now I split. Now, once I've dealt with some...
He's got 36 in range. If he just sits, right? If he just sits in a bubble around the Bricker Wardens with Teclis Cathalar and the Sentinels in the middle, and then he just fires out those 36-inch shots and tries to Technado at the enemy, yeah? He whittles it down a bit, grinds it down, and then pushes some charge. It would be much easier for him to screen up, move into the bottom right hand corner, bottom, and then take the bottom 2 objectives and play it like a flank game, and then push into the center and make it so that he's not getting deep struck, I would say.
I think it got to a point where you almost worry about, right, I'm getting into this and I'm not scoring enough objectives. But again, it's a 5-turn game. If he had played it till that turn 5, you'd potentially just you whittle down the Seraphon enough that then you can go, right, now I'm going to hit you.
But Seraphon summoning isn't some sort of broke ass summoning. They've put on a 110 point model. Yeah, I get it. In turn 2, cool. But that's he puts he puts 2 110 point models down in 2 turns. Whatever. That's better than losing. It's not he's not ramping away. He's not putting 3 keepers down bad summoning that we've seen before, or Grimghasts. So I think there's a tempo issue really with this play as well, which could be quite important. I think maybe we'll see. No, but they are shooting at you too, Marcus Rock. Yeah, they are. But the only, if they bring through the skinks, I don't know. You're right. It's a tough match.
I think it was a tough match for Lumineth, because also obviously Croak stops Teclis from doing a lot of what he wants to be doing. He stops your Sentinels and your Wardens getting off that extra mortal wound stuff. He can he's got enough rend on those salamanders to stop that Aether Quartz mattering. So a lot of what Seraphon has is the tools to deal with Lumineth. And actually, do Lumineth have enough tools to deal with Seraphon? They've got tech to shut down Croak. Have they got enough else? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, in this build anyway. In the build that Matt's got. In like another build maybe. So like the list that you see Benjamin Savo running, for example, when he's got a lot more bodies, he's got a lot more speed in it. Maybe that can deal with it, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So this turn 6 wardens, 7. I think we lost 19. We lost 19 wardens, but they're not all dead.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, 19 this turn have gone out. But he's done it. He's passed that off to the Skinks. He's done it. He's used the Cathalar ability.
Here we go.
Here we go. So all those Skinks are probably going to run away.
Yeah.
There's a few. Is there a few left? Wow, look at that ability. That ability
is so good, isn't it?
An amazing ability. That is so good. So good. So if you guys aren't sure what happened there, the battle shot test that should have been taken by the Wardens instead got taken by the Skinks. Instead and applied to their battle shot test, and then they ran away. That is horrific.
That is really good. That ability on things like multi-wound models. So, you know, like, I don't know, eels, for example, really good on things like that. Really good. It would have, again, like we were talking about earlier, the salamanders. It would have been great on salamanders.
It would have been, it would have been really good. Would have been nice to see it, like, even, not that they're particularly competitive, but it would have, like, a big brick of... it would have been nice to have seen them done on, like, a unit of, I don't know, like 30 Arrow Boys for Bone Splitters. It'd be pretty rough. Oh, so we're going into turn 3. Just going to just top up the score for everyone. 5 points scored by Seraphon there. It's taking them up to 8 points is where we're at. Priority roll coming in, and they needed it. They had
to have that.
Oh, so I thought that they were on no battle shock, so I'm glad that that's been resolved. But Lumineth have won the turn. Lumineth have won the turn.
They're back in the game. Ish.
However, that unit of Skinks that we removed weren't removed because they're immune to battle shock, so they come back on. Which, kind of like an emotional roller coaster there. We wanted the Skinks off, but Teclis now. Teclis doesn't even need. He doesn't even need, Matt, that spell portal. We're going to see a Technado available. We're going to see it just straight from him. You're right, they don't have bodies anymore. They don't have bodies. And I don't think Teclis can take out an entire army on his own.
He can. He's got this.
Okay.
He's just 60 points more than Ilariel. We know how good she is. So, he's got this. I don't even... It's because at this point, you've got, obviously, the Caliphar that can... He's already got that bottom objective. He doesn't need to worry about tagging that.
Gentlemen, the game is over. The game is over. That is it. They've called the game. Before Teclis takes it, he decided to let the Seraphon have it. No.
Did he not think that Teclis was going to do enough damage?
He didn't think.
Oh, okay.
So it is all over. The Seraphon have won. Let's take a moment to appreciate what the Seraphon lost, because I think that's a valuable conversation. In this, they lost a unit of 10 Skinks at the top of the board.
Yeah,
this is what they lost, and you're done.
Yeah, and they killed like 15 other Skinks. So all in all, the Seraphon player lost about 35 Skinks. 35 Skinks, and only a unit. I think we only lost one unit, right? Yeah, one unit. That is insane.
And
especially when you consider, obviously, this Lumineth list has gone 5-0 at this point. So this was the 6th game, essentially, of this tournament. So it's a 5-0 Lumineth list, which has just killed 35 Skinks.
Yeah. And Matt had, lots of options, right? He had the choice to give the first turn away or take the turn. He took the turn. He made those choices. He put those units out there. And even when it seemed fair, he didn't lose a priority roll. There's no double turns. He got the priority 1 into 2, 2 into 3. It's. I would say that there was some poor plays. I would say that charge into the Salamanders at the back was was maybe a bit poor, and maybe the overall strategy, potentially. But then, honestly, what do you do is a great question.
I genuinely, I don't know what Matt would have done differently. If I'm, because...
Also, shout out... Oh, go on, carry on.
Yeah, so I was just saying, so Matt doing what he did, I think, was probably the right way, potentially, to play it how he wanted to. Because, obviously, there's 6 objectives there. He doesn't have a lot of bodies. He doesn't have a lot of units. So it was going into a bad matchup. So what does he actually do? It's crazy. It was a crazy game. It was a really tough matchup for Matt, and I think he played it relatively well, to be honest. Overall.
Well, big shout out. Also massive shout out to Trogdor. He's from Malaysia. It's 3 a.m.
Wow.
where he is, and he's just taken out the Hammertime 7 event. So he's got to be over the moon about that. Super happy for him. That's great. Nice seeing that. We get to put a Malaysia on our Age of Sigmar stats map, which is fun. Whoop whoop. So that's awesome. And loads to unpack there. I mean, we've talked about this all the time. Seraphon they're just
horrific. But there's no data to say that. So, no one knows that they're good.
No one knows.
Right.
Let's go back to us. Let's go back to us, shall we? It's overall been a fun day of gaming. A persistent threat, the Seraphon. You can't ignore it, even in the hands of... I mean, we saw it last week with Ridge Hanna. He screened with his characters and he was still fine. And the win percentages...
It was all bait.
It was all bait. And the win percentages also back them up as well. It's a significant army. I mean, those Salamanders deleted a unit of 4-up save guys like they were nothing. Those 3 Salamanders. Arguably, I would have probably given them +1 save, but maybe it wouldn't have made the difference. Maybe it would have gone for the output. Lots of threats there as well. The teleport, would you say that that's the most important feature? Or Croak didn't even do anything. Croak did nothing.
Yeah. Like I said, right at the start of the game, Croak didn't need to do anything in that game. And actually, would he have done anything with Tekkaset? He didn't do a lot, because I think Croak actually did more to himself, his own army, than he did to the Lumineth army, because of that aura of sadness or whatever.
Yeah.
When Croak was throwing those mortal wounds out, and Matt was just ignoring them on 4+, it was just sending mortal wounds back. So essentially, Croak was damaging his own army more than I think the Lumineth player was.
Yeah, it was. And then he still didn't even care. He was like, this is fine. This is fine. Interesting also, to see Techless in that list, who felt fairly neutered and not really engaged in any way in the game, other than a buff piece, which is a lot of points to spend for a buff piece. Also, if you tack on that, the spell portal, that's an additional 70 points. So you're looking at 730 points there, who did basically nothing other than support the cast of characters around it. And it was interesting that a 320 point character, which is Croak on the other end, really was the flat answer. Or maybe just the allegiance ability for Seraphon, the ability to just unbind at a distance was pretty wild. But
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Just being able to sit at the back and just do what they want. It is just really, really good.
I mean, ultimately, we were all sad because Orkman didn't make it to the final, so...
But Orkman made it. He did beat one Seraphon player, so realistically, the winner of the event was Orkman in our hearts.
Yeah.
So shout out to Orkman.
Shout out to Orkman. Forever and ever. So close, but so far. And also big shout out to Trogdor, also to Matt for playing the game. Adam, thank you very much for joining me for the commentary today. You did a great job. Loved it. And I was getting to it. Calm down. And well done to Matt, our table boss, for doing the table bossing. So he's the man who listens to both me and the commentators talking and also the table at the same time and relays all the information. He does an amazing job, and I appreciate him loads, even if he looks like an extra from Akira. He's just great. Yeah. So massive love and thanks to him.
Great guy. Great guy.
Great guy.
Great guy. Great list.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. There will be thank you to Owen for organising the event. Thank you to all of the players. Thank you to everyone who watched. You're all brilliant. We'll do some more live coverage at some point. Will it be teams? Will it be not? Who knows? There's lots to unpack. But it's been a great day. Super Saturday. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who made donations, like Grim Slacker in the chat. Jim and all you other guys, you're all brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for subscribing, being on Patreon, supporting the show. Adam, any shout outs before we go?
No.
Flawless.
No. Owen.
Always
Owen.
Win.
What a
Loads
great
of love to
guy.
everyone. Have a great day. See you soon.